This episode is dedicated to the memory of former Swindon Women's Football Club goalkeeper Carla Heaton, who passed away this week. Carla was just 22 years old. The Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge joins all fans of Swindon Town in sending our condolences to Carla's friends, family and teammates. Swindon Town Football Club provided the following tribute to Carla. Carla brought a shining light to the dressing room with her personality, and her performances between the sticks were second to none. She'll be greatly missed by the players in our current squad who are honoured to have known her and shared the pitch with her. Thoughts and prayers go out to her family and friends at this time. Rest in peace, goalie. Well, when considering the jovial tone and content of tonight's show, I consulted with good friends of Carla who believe she would have very much enjoyed and supported this episode herself. We pray she's listening into us somewhere, and we'll be laughing along with all of us as we go. So again, just to reiterate, we dedicate this show to the memory of Carla Heaton. Well, define shithouse. The Oxford English Language Dictionary says an extremely unpleasant place. The Urban Dictionary, on the other hand, says a method in which a person or collective overcome a challenge in a cheeky or slightly unethical manner. Or, if you're Swindon Town fans after the weekend, the second Urban Dictionary definition is perhaps more relevant. It says someone who is the epitome of scum, the lowest of the low, someone with absolutely no morals, a person who's just out for themselves and has no regard for anyone else. Well, there was a strange air of acceptance around the county ground at the weekend. Dan Ajay and Arthur Okoronkwo and friends may well have established themselves a lofty perch in the Swindon Town Football Club Shithouse Hall of Fame. But we live by the sword, we die by the sword, ladies and gentlemen. Whilst many departed, hands on heads and utterly exasperated, just as many town fans seem to leave the ground conjuring memories of a certain H. McCurdy Esquire. It was a timely reminder, however, of deep down how infuriatingly, joyously, piss-boilingly top tier the presence of an elite, proper old school shithouse undeniably is to the humble football supporter. Well, tonight we are going to metaphorically grab a book and take a long sit down in the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge's very own dubiously glorious shithouse. We've got plenty of good company to keep us along the way. So, esteemed listeners, passengers of the good ship HMS Pistol, come on in. The sly rule-bending, bemused vitriol, flying spittle, wry grins, devious side eyes, and cheeky winks are delightful. Well, listen, we've got loads of people on the show with us tonight. You're in for a really, really good evening of entertainment, all being well. So let me first introduce my panel. Good evening to you, Chris.
Evening, Hannes.
How are you, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Busy night, so let's get the rest of them on. Ellis, good evening to you, pal.
Evening, Hannes, and evening, everyone.
Evening, buddy. Evening, buddy. And Joe, good evening to you.
Good evening, mate. How you going?
Yeah, very well, thanks, pal. Very well. Very well indeed.
Good.
Listen, so obviously, as regular listeners of our show and acquaintances of me will know, and certainly all three of you certainly do, I live right on the London-Kent border. And we've got the most curious rivalry with Gillingham Football Club, a good 120 miles or more from the county ground doorsteps. And stories of Ray McHale and whatnot go off in legend. But nobody really understands why Gillingham hates us quite so much and shit out us the way that they do. So I couldn't think of a better man to bring on board tonight to try and unpick one of our weirdest shit-housing rivalries than a certain Mr. Victor Morgan. How are we, Vic?
Hannah, it's a very good evening to you. Can I just first of all pass on my condolences, please, to the friends, family and teammates, of course, of Carla. Very sad at the age of 22. So just wanted to do that as well, if that's possible, please.
Thank you, Vic. Yeah, you certainly can. As I said very sincerely earlier, speaking to acquaintances, friends, management of, former management of Carla earlier today, it was a little bit, obviously, we're trying to raise spirits after Saturday. The news that was released today was very, very sad. But the messages from the club and her friends were, actually, this show is right up Carla's street. And it's something that she would have wanted us to crack on with. So Indeed, we are. So I do assure you all, we went a great measure to do just that. So, as I said earlier, and I'm sure you'll agree, Vic, hopefully she's up there smiling down and having a good giggle with us tonight as well.
Absolutely, and this is a rivalry that might promote quite a giggle, actually. I've had a great deal of fun this evening researching this because it is bonkers, isn't it? I mean, Swindon against Gillingham, well, so what? But it's just one of those rivalries that nobody can quite understand. And unless you're of a certain age, like me, you probably won't know what the origins are. And even though people go along with this rivalry, they don't know what it's about. And I don't really think that even people who were around at the time can understand it quite so much. It is that bonkers.
Well, listen, Vic, I mean, you and I shared this story earlier. Again, regular listeners of the show will know that around a sort of approximately a year ago, I retired from the local police down here in Kent. And it was much to my amusement. I used to wear a tiny, tiny little Swindon Town badge on my stab vest, no bigger than a 5p piece. And one of my very last deployments was looking after a Gillingham match. And much to my amusement, a Gillingham fan came up to me, started thrusting his pointy finger into my chest and telling me, "How dare you wear that badge to Priestfield Stadium? How dare you wear that badge? You have no reason to be wearing that badge here." And I was like, "What? Sorry, what have you seen?" He said, "You're a Swindon Town fan, aren't you?" So yeah, even the local even the local police aren't so thick.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Well, shall I take you back in a time machine to March 1979? And I've got to say, I had a great deal of fun looking on the marvellous swindontownfc.co.uk database, which if you want to find anything out about Swindon Town, that is the place to go. It's magnificent, which I go to very often. Yeah, March 1979. Now, picture the scene. Both teams in the running for promotion. The Gills went 2-0 up in 25 minutes. 10 minutes later, it's 2-2. Danny Westwood, the Gills player, then gets sent off for foul and abusive language after a bad tackle on him. So the Priestfield incensed. A Gills fan came onto the pitch, punched the referee, knocking him out. Now Ray McHale is singled out for all sorts of abuse. Now, this is the beginning, and this is where the seeds of this were all sown. So this is where it all begins. Now, fast forward then to May 1979. A Gills player sent off for a foul on, guess who? Ray McHale. This is at the county ground. Swindon 3-0 up. McHale became the target of more abuse. Swindon winning the game 3-1. There's a fracas in the tunnel. Town coach Wilf Tranter at the time was taken to hospital with facial injuries after that fracas. 2 Gills players ended up in court, but were later acquitted. So there we are. 2 fixtures in the space of a few months. All that kicks off. What an extraordinary thing that was. And both teams, ironically, missed out on promotion that season. Gills by a single point, which they considered to be Swindon's fault.
So here we are, Vic, in 2022, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I can vividly recall. I mean, I'm 45 years of age now, so it gives you a rough idea the sort of Swindon Town supporter journey I've had, albeit growing up in southeast London. But the strange thing about it is, when I was younger, it was a little bit more sort of vitriolic on behalf of Swindon Town fans, it's fair to say, and people seem to understand it a little bit more. These days, it's far more lopsided towards Kent, isn't it? Like, it's very rare to find a Swindon fan that actually understands what all this is about.
Well, that is the thing, and actually, if you cast your mind back to that awful 0-0 draw earlier in the season, there were many Swindon fans there who were just basking in the sunshine, falling asleep, basically. But it is extraordinary how many things sort of stem from our games against Gillingham. And just as a sort of a further note to this, there were alleged death threats against Ray McHale when the Town played Arsenal in the League Cup quarter-final as well. And I think you might guess where those alleged death threats might have come from. It was an extraordinary situation. And then, of course, fast forward a little bit further to those playoffs. Now, I do remember those playoffs extraordinarily well. You might remember that the Town lost the first one at the Priestfield by a 0-0. I think it was David Smith who got the goal for Gillingham that night. It was a freezing cold Friday. And then a couple of days later, 2 or 3 days later on the Monday, Gillingham went 1-up at the county ground despite intense Swindon pressure. Incredible performance from Phil Kite in the Gillingham goal. And then goals from Peter Coyne and a sort of tap in from our man Charlie Henry from about 25 yards, rocket shot into the top corner of the net, made it 2-1. Now, in those days, away goals didn't count double. So it went to the third game. And of course, as we know, Swindon won that by 2-0. Steve White getting both those goals. So that rivalry further enhanced by those playoff games. An extraordinary thing. And then there's another coincidence, because if you might remember that Swindon lost 3-1 at Gillingham on a certain day, but still won promotion under Paolo Di Canio. And what was even more extraordinary about that game was Wes Fodringham was suspended for the match after a bit of a fallout with Mr. Di Canio. And I well remember looking at the back of the away end, and there was Wes Fodringham trying to get into the game. So these things keep going on and on and on. And just a personal connection, on the 31st of December 1977, it finished Gillingham 2, Swindon 2, Moss and Kamara for Swindon, the day I got married 45 years ago. So how about that?
So incredible, Vic. Well, and like I said, I don't know. They're one of my local clubs ish. I always enjoy. I was once asked by Rich Pullen about the derbies that I most enjoy, and for me, it really is Palace, Millwall, West Ham, Gillingham. Absolutely marvellous stuff. I don't mind telling you. But listen, Vic, 2 questions for you. First one is, do you, what do you recall of Ray McHale? Because obviously tonight we're having a little bit of fun in the shithouse stakes. What sort of a player was Ray? Because it was before my time.
He was a great player. I mean, he was a town captain, of course, and he was a plough through the mud, never say die character. He led the team to the League Cup semi-finals. That team should have got promotion that year. An extraordinary footballer. And, he's one of those great captains in Swindon Town's history. You look back on and think, yeah, that was a captain. I mean, he would never shirk a tackle, I think it's fair to say, as Mr. Westwood might attest to. And he played in a wonderful side that got to that semi-final. Just, one game that always sticks in my mind is we were playing Brighton on New Year's Day, and it was a foul day, and Swindon went 4-0 up, and Ray McHale was magnificent in that game, and it got abandoned, much to the annoyance of just about everybody, really. They won the replay 2-1. But really, it was against Alan Mullery's Brighton at the time. But it was a typical McHale game. Filthy weather, muddy pitch, plough through, just tackle anything that moves, basically, and drive the town forward. Wonderful footballer.
So, and my other question for you, Vic, was obviously last season didn't end particularly well. We had a ferocious game up at Burslem. Ferocious mainly because of the way that it finished. Do you think that that's got the makings of another Swindon Town Gillingham rivalry? Do you think moving forward the wounds of Burslem are going to take just as long to heal?
Might be for the younger generation. I mean, I hope it doesn't in terms of the way it breaks out. I mean, nobody wants that. You just want it to be a rivalry, but no more than that. But it does have the potential. Of course it does. And I think many of us who were there that night felt bitter about the way it ended. Not only did we went out on penalties, but the way we were treated in the away end that night was pretty horrific, and we won't forget it. One little tie-up for one of your guests, if I might say.
Well, do you want to, Vic? You introduce him away, because I'm sure he would like to come on and say hello to you.
Well, Mr. Simon Cox, hello to you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. You might well remember this game. It finished Swindon Town 5, Gillingham 0. JP McGovern got 1. Billy Painter got 2, and one Simon Cox got 2. Now, you won't remember this, but after the game, I interviewed you both in the tunnel, and I introduced you both to each other, because if I remember rightly, you got quite annoyed in that game because you could have had a hat-trick had Billy Painter passed you rather than gone for goal himself. Is that right?
More than likely. To be honest, it's not a game that I remember that well, but if after hearing everything you've just said, I'm not coming up against your memory. So, he both got 2 on the day, so happy enough.
Fair enough. That's a true teammate speaking there. That was a fantastic performance, of course, to win 5-0 against Gillingham, early season, lovely sunny day, fabulous stuff. So that's fair enough.
Coxie, did you ever come across, or does the Gillingham-Swindon rivalry resonate with you at all?
Do you know what? It was, I can't remember if it was my first season or second season, and we played Gills away on like one of our last away games of the season. Forgive me about the result, no idea, but I remember my missus being there, and she used to travel to most of the games, to be fair to her, and to try and get her back to her car. Obviously, there was a lot of police escorts, so she obviously comes to see me in the like outside the players' entrance and whatever after. And because obviously she was talking to me, police were trying to usher her on, and I was like, "Oh, hold on, you can't sort of usher her on. I'm having a quick chat with her before she sort of moves on herself." And they were being a little bit like forceful in their way of moving her on. So Danny Wilson invited her onto the team coach. So that's one of my memories of Swindon versus Gillingham. I always remember sort of Swindon taking a very big support to those games as well, which was amazing because obviously, like you said, in the sort of build up, it's over 120 miles away, so it's not exactly on your doorstep, but it just always amazed me that people travelled for that sort of game being, quite far away.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it baffles me. I mean, I'll never forget the story. Like I said, of being stood there in uniform and having someone jabbing me in the chest, asking me to speak to my superiors. I was wearing a 5p size Swindon Town badge on my vest. How dare you wear that? Take that off. I pay your wages. I had all of that. It was a very, very long time ago. But look, we'll part Gills for the time being. And Vic, thank you ever so much for the insights with Gills. Please do hang around, Vic, for as long as you can.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah,
we've got plenty of fun content. I mean, Coxie, first and foremost, were you a shithouse?
It depends in what sense. in 50-50 tackles, absolutely, I was.
Well, go on, elaborate on that, Simon. What would go through your mind as you flew into said 50-50 tackle?
I'd try and push Billy Painter into him more than I'd push myself into him. Hence the reason why my feet are probably looking better than his. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't one for flying into those sort of tackles. Don't get me wrong. Like, if I was wound up for one reason or another, I would go in hard and probably unfairly as well. Sometimes just to sort of hold off a bit to burn off a bit of steam and stuff. But that was about as, in terms of being a shithouse, that's about as shithouse as I think I got. I think I'd always be that one as well, though. Like the one for, if anything ever kicked off, I'd always be the one first in and then sort of like backward step away from most of it as well.
Hiding behind Billy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, anyone bigger than me, which is pretty much everybody, just trying to hide, mate.
To be fair, playing with Peaks and Billy, you've had two players there you played up front with who are absolute, textbook shithouse, really.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, and two massive lads who you can hide behind, so quite happy for me.
So, Simon, Billy Painter, so you mentioned him there. I mean, he's one of those guys that I guess he's just sort of taken for granted. He's an absolute legend at the county ground, but he's also a little bit of a dark horse because all the players know him as being a massive shithouse, but I'm not sure the fans necessarily know that. So you must have one or two brilliant Billy Painter stories, and if you do, I'd love to hear them, as I'm sure all the listeners would.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the final furlong at Cheltenham, don't they? So you can't really keep going on about that one, but that is probably well recognised story. Like, if he was ever to write a book, it'd probably be the final furlong. I might actually send that to him and see if he'll write a book, and I'll try and claim royalties off it. No, I mean, the thing is, he was brilliant every day. He would have laughs and jokes, and he would be that person who, just him and Michael Timlin would be awful together. They would just be. They're nasty people. Nasty people. You know what I mean? Like things like pissing in baths and getting in it and jumping in other people's baths and things like that. And it would just be like, sometimes you look at them and think, oh my God, do you even like wash? Because like, yeah, some of them lads were just a little bit too far for me, but I'll let them get on with it. As long as they left me alone, I was quite happy.
And Coxie, there's a brilliant story about, and I don't know whether it was your squad or a little further down the line when Charlie Austin was in the mix. Charlie will of course be joining us a little later on, but there's a brilliant story about Billy breaking into someone's house while they were at training. Do you know anything about that one?
Absolutely not, but I want to hear that story as well.
Well, you hang around, mate. You're more than welcome. It must have been Charlie's generation, for want of a better word.
Yeah, it would probably have been him and Charlie, to be honest.
But at the same time, so if you take someone like Billy, like we talk about him, you use the words like sort of like, they go a bit too far for you and all the rest of it. But in terms of sort of when you're building a kind of squad environment and that sort of that family of brothers feel, how important is it to have a good shithouse like Billy Painter in your squad?
Oh, it's massive, and it's vital for more so for when the times are going wrong or bad, because they're always the ones who not necessarily don't take it as serious, but they're the ones that come in on a day where you've just been beat, whether you've been beat heavily or you've been beat 2 or 3 on the spin, and they come in the next day or Monday morning, and they're still as lively as as they were if you were winning 2 or 3 games on the spin. So they're vital in my book anyway. And I'll be honest with you, and that's one thing that I hate about the game at the minute is those kind of characters are sort of going out of the game, because I feel like some managers don't know how to deal with those type of players. So having if I was building a team, I'd like to have like 2 or 3 of those characters, because they're brilliant for the camaraderie, especially coming into like this time of year as well, Christmas parties, those sort of things. They're ideal for the stories and organising it, making sure everyone sort of goes and comes home safe and no trouble and all that sort of stuff. And they make your dressing room, in all honesty.
What cracks me up though, Simon, is like I mentioned earlier about Billy, like being a little bit of a dark horse. If you ask most fans to sort of name from your squad who were the ones that sort of pushed it, I don't think many people would naturally put Billy. I certainly don't believe anybody would put Timms. But you said Michael Timlin had an edgy side as well.
Yeah, mate. He's just got that little side to him where, because he's such an ultra serious person, but when he's having a real good time and he just has a laugh and a joke and he sort of lets his hair down, that's when you see like a real nice and like a funny side to him as well, which is great.
So look, sorry, you moved. Obviously, you joined Swindon Town from one of our kind of local rivals in Reading, and indeed later in your career, you've gone back there. Was that a source of any kind of? Have you got any funny sort of shit housing stories that came off the back of you moving between clubs that were in the sort of the same locale?
No, not really. The only sort of stories and that I've got of like shit housery and things like that are like me when I was growing up. When I was sort of coming through the system at Reading, remember one of my first ever times of travelling with the team was Plymouth away. I mean, they didn't take me on the short journeys to Brentford. They took me on the long ones to Plymouth, so that was nice. But I remember we'd won the game. I come on with about 2 minutes to go, and they used to have this big communal bath, and like everyone got in it after the game. And Marcus Hanneman, obviously, anybody who remembers him, big, 6'2", big American fella, bald head, like used to have like the tobacco in his top gums and everything else. And he was about to tell this big story, and he was like, gather round. And he started talking, and me being like quite a cocky little fucker at an early age, I just started snoring at him. And honestly, he jumped across a bath and he dug me. He gave me a big dig in the ribs, and I was like, "Oh my God, what have I done there?"
Yeah, he's a wild boy, Marcus Heinemann, isn't he? An absolute wild boy.
It wasn't one I thought, "Oh yeah, I'll do that again." I thought I learned a lesson straight away off of that one. But yeah, mate, like things like that. I used to do things like that all the time. Like with Graham Murray, who's one of my good friends, still is. We would have laughs and jokes. Obviously, play golf together, and and we would turn up for golf tournaments in like rascal shirts, pink shirts, tight shirts, that sort of thing, and just sort of cause a bit of fun, a bit of havoc in that sort of sense, really. Like most of our stuff was done in smaller groups more than it was in big groups. Obviously, you can think of like the times of I've been in dressing rooms and spoken to people about. I don't know if you guys remember it, like the way that Stoke used to do. They used to have like, it was, I don't know what they used to call it. It was like Hell Week or something like that, where everything was touch, like you could do anything. And that was when like the Johnny Waters and Kenwyn Jones and the Pighead. Do you remember that one?
Oh,
that
yeah.
story?
Yeah.
You know, that they used to have things like that. So I remember hearing those kind of stories and just thinking, God, like that, I wouldn't enjoy any of that.
Did you, I mean, so you kind of transcended an interesting sort of period in terms of the way media is and interacting with fans, because I vividly recall that sort of like the period that you obviously came into Swindon town. Like social media is nowhere near like where it is now in terms of levels of traction and how sophisticated it is, but also what a viper's nest it can be as well. Have you got any kind of social media sort of and shithousing fan stories that you recall? Is there anything that sticks in your mind in that respect?
I just remember like, and this is going back to Billy a little bit, but I remember like Callum Kennedy, if you remember Cal, he was the first ever person to say about he got on this thing called Twitter, and I was like, God knows, like not a computer whiz, so I got no idea what that's all about. Anyway, he was going on about it. But I remember like after games, and we had such a good tight group at the town that my 2 or 3 years there, and we used to go out. And I remember when he used to have a drink and stuff, he'd stand like in Old Town in one of the bars there, and he'd just like drop his trousers, and he'd like be just standing at the bar in his pants, and I'd just be like, oh my God. But you think of like if he could do that, if that happened now, be all over the social media, and you know, and it would just wouldn't be able to do it. He's like these people. He's in the right time to be, which is big. He would have kind of with now social media, just incredible. But in terms of fan, really, I think a lot of it. When you've got a last name like Cox, it just opens up the door for anything, doesn't it? Really, let's be fair. It's not like you can't get angry or uptight with anybody who comes up with something silly, or if you've got the last name like I have.
Well, that's very true. Listen, Coxie, my final question for you, mate, and I appreciate you've got a poorly nippy you're looking after tonight, so we're sending her all our best. But you mentioned the story with Marcus Hanneman going wrong. Well, I was going to ask, have you got any other sort of any stories of shit housing gone wrong? And that's as broad a topic as you want. Have you seen it gone wrong for anyone else? Is there sort of funny story you've got, or have you seen it go horribly wrong for a fan?
Not necessarily gone wrong, but I think one of the best ones I've sort of been a part of is it was actually when I was in Australia, and Charlie, well, I think he's still playing over there. The guy who did it to me, it was after a game, and I don't know if like the older generation members of who are listening might remember him. Alessandro Diamanti used to play. He's obviously played for Italy and loads of other clubs and stuff, and he plays for a team called Western United over there. Bearing in mind, this guy, you know, phenomenal player, he still is like really good. He came up to me after the game one day when we played Western United away, and he came up to me and went, swap shirts, and I was like, yeah, good one. And he was like, no, you're my son's favourite player. And I looked at him and just thought, you're having me on it, surely. Because your son can only be about 5 years old or whatever, and I guarantee he's never seen me play. So anyway, I swapped shirts with him, and then the lads in that at the end of the game were saying to me like, "Oh, why have you got his shirt?" I said, "I swear to God, he asked for mine." He said I was his son's favourite player, and they was giving me all sorts of banter in the dressing room after. I couldn't believe it. you're just sort of looking at someone when they ask, and I was like, you talking to me, someone behind me, someone put you up to this sort of thing. It just must have been like ridiculous. I can't imagine he's gone home and said, "Oh, there you go. There you go, son. There's the shirt you were after."
Maybe he was just a
The thought of
massive.
his son having a Simon Cox shirt on the wall next to an Andrea Pirlo shirt
Do you know
makes
what I
me
mean?
happy.
Yeah. It does me, but I can't imagine. I thought his cars might need a wash, and he got rid of a rag or something that he was fancying. He needed a new one.
Well, it didn't turn up in the Kazi or anything, Coxie, quite clearly. So he's obviously got some sort of position of honour. Either that or he's flogged it on eBay.
Well, I mean, he probably would have got a couple of quid if anything. But
You're doing yourself down, Coxie. You will always be a high-priced eBay shirted legend at Swindon Town fans. Don't you worry about that. But listen, mate, how's tricks for you more generally? Everything okay? I hope.
Yeah, all fine, mate. Yeah, looking forward to got a couple of things happening next few weeks. Missus is about to drop for our second, so exciting times. Obviously, the little one at the minute is not very well, so we've got to look after her. Obviously, got Christmas coming up, which is great, but I'm about to hopefully open a gym as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that in the new year and helping people, achieve their goals. I know what it's like to sort of sit and feel a bit, unmotivated. So I'm looking forward to opening that up and helping people get to where they want to be and like I say, achieve their goals of fitness.
Yeah, Coxie, listen, there's some superb content that you've put out there, mate, over the last couple of months, and I tip my hat to you. Some really, really intimate sort of, thoughts, feelings, stuff that you've been experiencing since you've kind of, wrapped up your football career, which I'm sure people are aware of it, mate. It has absolutely done the rounds. It's gone viral, and I'll just tip my hat to you. I think the other thing that's really kept me going as well, Cox, is every time I open your social media, it literally is like staring into a mirror, mate, while you're working out. The only difference, of course, is you're a foot shorter and I'm still about five stone heavier. But other than that, mate, it literally is like looking in a mirror. So thank you for that, pal, for keeping me at the peak of physical fitness.
No, mate, it's just honest content, mate, and the fitness thing is something that's really helped me. So that's why I'm hoping to open that up and help as many people as possible. That's the aim of the game, mate.
Well, listen, Coxie, you're always welcome on the show, mate. It's always an honour to have you. Swindon Town's post-war goal-scoring record holder, Simon Cox. Take good care of yourself. So, as I say, best of wishes to the family and best of wishes over the next couple of months. We'll hopefully touch base with you again, mate, when things have kicked off a bit, and you give us another update.
Top man. Cheers, mate. Speak to you
All
soon.
the best, Coxie. Bye-bye, fella.
Bye-bye.
Well, Simon Cox, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, post-war goal-scoring record holder and shithouse supreme. Some lovely stories there about Bill, about Michael Timlin, and so on and such like. But we'll bring on our next guest. So I'm very, very excited to see if we've got a whole new dimension of shithousing to talk about here. And I think we're going to start with a lady who's going to be making her Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge debut, none other than the skipper, Alice Bowden. Hello, Alice. How are you?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on. We are honoured. Now, because you're the captain, we've clearly got to be on our best behaviour, but please feel free to chastise us if we step over the line.
No, it's fine. I'm the fun captain.
The fun captain. Well, I understand that you follow in the John Terry mould. So, I'm not sure. I think fun captain, highly dubious, suboptimal captaining. There's a whole host of things that could potentially come out of that argument. But more on that later, Alice. More on that later. As I bring on Swindon Town Women's Football Club's equivalent to Reece James, I'm told. How are you, Steph Bent?
I am great, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm delighted. Absolutely delightful. I'm chuffed to have you on. So Alice and Steph both making your Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge debuts. We are very much looking forward to seeing a little bit more of you on Sunday. But again, we will talk about that in due course, because we're going to bring on another of your teammates, hotshot Colston herself. She scores when she wants. She scores when she wants. Annie Colston, she scores when she wants. But does she unmute her mic when we want? How are you, Annie?
Indeed.
Yes.
How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Annie. Very
Good,
well,
good.
thank you. It's an absolute treat to have you on.
As
What
always.
I am guessing you are very much looking forward to Sunday.
I cannot wait. It needs to hurry up.
Ah, bless you. Well, and hopefully somebody that's going to be making Sunday exciting for us all and laying those chances on a plate for you. Twinkle Toes herself. How are you, Helena Diaz-Butcher?
I'm good, thank you.
Listen, look at this. I've got a smorgasbord of talent from the Women's Football Club on. And I'm just going to open this up to all four of you. And I'm sure my panelists will be jumping in and having much mirth with you as well. Ladies, tell me a little bit about shithousing in the women's game.
Shithousing in the women's game is a lot of bitchy comments, really, and a few little digs, to be fair. Annie is the shithouser at training. She loves to get her feet involved and just make everyone look stupid. I'm the one in the games giving people little digs, getting people carded, naughty challenges.
Oh, you're a proper nasty wind-up merchant, Alice, aren't you?
I am. I'm
Alice
just
loves
silent but
it.
deadly. I do love it. It gives me. On Sunday, someone was nasty to me, and it just made my game even better. I thought, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, but that's meant to be the whole thing, isn't it? I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring Steph in as well, because Steph also tells me that she absolutely loves a bit of shithousery. Steph, is that true?
You know what? I watch it happen and I get involved. It gets me. It's the excitement of the game. It makes the game better, and especially if it's quite intense. If like the opposition's getting quite rowdy, then I like to get involved. But I'm more. I'll go for a bigger challenge rather than get mouthy with them, I'd say.
Yeah, ultimately the result is what's all important, and there's no point winning your little battles and losing the war, I guess, is the vibe. But the interesting thing, the reason I wanted to get you on to talk about this amongst other bits and bobs, is obviously the vibe from the stands, particularly after the summer, has been that the women's game is kind of, it seemed to people sort of lazily saying it's more sporting and more family friendly, and then lo and behold, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here's fame. Jill Scott took us to the shithousing mountaintop towards the end of the final in the summer, didn't she? One of you four, give me an opinion on Jill Scott's wonderful piece of shithousing with the Germans.
That is literally women's football to a T. If you're a shithouser, it's mainly what Jill Scott does.
Now, also, one of the things, whilst I was researching shithousing in the women's game, that seems to be far more prevalent than in the men's game, is epic hair pulling. And there is the most incredible video of a certain Elizabeth Lambert, who plays for a club out in Mexico, being literally through on goal, but being pulled back by her hair, a little bit like Chiellini on Saka. So what's that all about? And I'm guessing it's just because your hair's typically a bit longer, but epic hair pulling, is that something that refs clamp down on? Like, what's the vibe there?
I don't know about hair. Have you had hair pulling, girls? I don't think I've had hair pulling. I
don't think so.
Arms, pinch their bums.
Yeah, they pinch you in the side as well, didn't they? Like the game the other week.
Yeah, it's the nails as well. The nails, and sometimes people get fake nails, and it's the scratching for me.
Yeah,
sometimes I've seen some massive nails in pictures from games recently.
Alice.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because yes, Lanes, people do get very long nails, don't they?
Sometimes.
So yeah, as you're just sort of like getting around the back of the fullback lanes, I'm guessing like sort of like 10 nails, sort of like essentially splicing their necks open, gives you that competitive sort of like 10 mil to get a Romeo Hutton-esque cross in.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not even quick. I just scratch them as I go past, and they just stop.
So we've got Wolverine on the wing.
Literally.
Brilliant.
So okay, we've talked about the kinds of things. I mean, again, has any of you four wonderful individuals got a particular, from this season maybe, or feel free to go back to last season, a particularly interesting shithousing story to wrap up the shithousing segment of bringing you online?
Oh, there's so many. I've had one a few seasons ago. I got someone sent off. it was me in the wrong. I did the bad tackle, but she was just chirping up at me. So I've made it look like it was all her, and she actually got sent off.
Oh, Alice.
I know,
Alice.
I do like a little bit of stuff like that. We've had a few this year of people making nasty comments. It's just fun, isn't it? I think it makes you enjoy the game of football more.
I mean, Steph, I'll get a view from you here. Do you, as obviously as the club are getting a little bit more professional, Swindon are sort of like, you know, looking to go up the sort of level, so to speak. Do you envisage, or are you experiencing an increase in shit housing, or are you expecting an increase in that, or would it be more professional? Do you think the further up you get? What's your expectations, Steph?
I would definitely say the further up the leagues get, it definitely gets a little bit more intense. To be fair, I don't want to disappoint, but the Swindon really like the nicest girls I've played for. So, which is amazing because like the dynamic of the team, everyone's so friendly. But I've definitely experienced, even in leagues above, some worse shithousery, and I've definitely got a goalkeeper carded for apparently punching me in the face. But if you just drop and look like you've been punched in the face, it works. So it's all about the timing. And bear in mind, I was up the pitch, I was playing on the wing. As I get older, I slowly move back. I started as a forward and now I'm a defender. But yeah, when you play leagues above, it definitely gets a little bit more feisty. And even this season, and even last season when we played the likes of Oxford and stuff like that, it definitely, the better teams and even Bournemouth this season, it gets really intense and, you know, way more fun to play. I prefer those games as well. It's a bit more exciting.
Yeah, I can see that. And Annie, what's all this I'm hearing about someone being sent off for giving you a good kicking?
Oh yeah, they did actually. It was sort of my fault. I had like a heavy touch, and then she came in and I slid and took her out, and then kind of held her down a little bit so she couldn't get up. And then when she did get up, she tried to kick me and then kicked me again. So yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Well, listen, Steph and Alice, I'm being asked for you to give us an opinion on Sahara Osborne Ricketts. Someone please tell me who this is, because Woody's telling me she's the ultimate shithouse.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I've got a great story. When I played for, I think it was the under-23s or the under-16s, and she was in the first team. Dare to say this was at Oxford United, but
oh, wash your mouth out.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, basically, we were playing against the first team, and my first experience of her, she ripped my bib and two-footed me, and yeah, so every time I have played her, it's got a bit feisty, I'd say. She's
competitive, is Steph?
Yeah, she goes in for the challenge first. I'm not sure if she goes for the ball. I mean, I'd love to be on her team rather than against her. One of those players, I'd say.
Right, I've got you. So, okay, well, listen, we'll park the shithousing fun and games, unless any of my colleagues on the panel would like to chip in, because we've got I'll say the small matter, but the large matter of the ladies returning to the county ground on Sunday. So, silly question. I'm sure all four of you are absolutely buzzing, right?
I can't wait.
Woo woo! Can't wait.
So obviously, the last time we were there, you thumped 10 goals, progressed to the next round of the cup. So I'm sure you're all expecting a far more tricky cup tie against Plymouth Argyle on Sunday. Can you tell us a little bit more? I appreciate they're a level above you girls. What's where are your heads at? What are you expecting ahead of Sunday?
Do you know what? All credits to Bolton in the last game. I think they sort of knew that they weren't going to win, but they put everything on the line and they enjoyed the occasion as much as we did. So that's all that we could ask for. As for Sunday, obviously Plymouth are in the league above, and I wouldn't say they were like rivals, but we've had them in the leagues a few times before. So I think it's going to be a good test. I think the girls are looking forward to putting on a good show against a good opposition, because obviously it was great to see 10 goals go past them. But I can't wait for you guys and the other fans to actually see some really good women's football. And I think that's what we're going to be able to showcase on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're really buzzing as well. You know, ladies, we're so Tom Broadbent Lounge is going to be broadcasting live from the county ground from 11 o'clock on Sunday. We will have, there'll be 3 or 4 of us up in the commentary box. We will have a couple pitch side as roving reporters. We'll have exclusive interviews with you good folk, other squad members and fans before the game, speaking to fans during the game, and obviously speaking to you guys again after the game, when no doubt we'll be toasting your progression even further in the cup. So listen, we're absolutely buzzing to be able to come along and support you guys. For everyone listening in, it's going to be an awful lot of fun, lots of characters involved, some super football. Our alt comms was something that we did during pre-season for the men's team, and we've had the response to them was fantastic, so it's great for us to be getting back on the mic. And yeah, it's brilliant, because all I'm going to say to you 4 ladies is I have a spy in the camp. So there could be some rather interesting questions being posed to you, good ladies, on Sunday. So just to keep you on your toes. But obviously your progress this season has been stalled a little bit of late because you've had so many games cancelled. I mean, how has that sort of disrupted things for you? I don't know who wants to jump in on that. Alice, maybe that's a question for you as skipper. Must be very, very frustrating. Why are the games being cancelled? Is it due to the quality of grounds that you're playing at, or is it just bad luck and weather?
Do you know what? It is very frustrating, especially when you've got a big game coming up like Sunday and you want a good run of games. But I think it's just a mixture of everything. I think it's a mixture of the weather, and I also think it's just a mixture of like the grounds that people play on, and maybe not wanting to play us. But I think the more that people try and prolong it, it's just, do you know what I mean? It's just gonna add to the game when we do play them. So say like the game on the weekend is a county cup game. Obviously they said it got waterlogged. I'm not sure if it was, but we'll take their word for it. But that just riles us up even more for a competition like that. So obviously I think if they played it, I think when we play it next, I think we're going to be more up for it than what we're going to be.
I'm guessing you guys have just upped the ante even further in training, right? I guess you haven't got much of a choice, have you? I mean, you've got to try and retain that sharpness, but I guess like any football, you need match action, don't you, to keep your match fit? It must be incredibly frustrating for you, Alice.
Yeah, we always need match fitness, and obviously we do get set running, things like that, but nothing beats just playing a game of football. And especially for the older players like me, having a constant run of games is great. When you stop, I need a bloody walking stick by Sunday.
Steph, how did you find Portland at the county ground? I mean, again, you must be absolutely buzzing. Clearly, there was a double header the last time you girls turned out. That's not the case this week, but I'm sure we're going to be kind of pushing as hard as we can to get as many bums on seats as we can on Sunday. What was your experience of Portland, Steph? How are you? You must be smacking your lips ahead of Plymouth.
Yeah, the game was, there were so many people there, which is amazing. It didn't look like it, obviously, the stadium's so big, but as soon as we scored our first goal, you could just hear it in the stands, and it was amazing. But I don't know, it's always big games like this I get really excited about, and I think all the girls can back me here. In the warm-up, I can get a little bit annoying. I just love the energy, and yeah.
Oh my God.
Never.
Only a little.
Yeah. Come on, let's hear all about it. Lanes, you haven't said much tonight. Let's get you in the mix. What does Steph mean by annoying in the warm-up?
Honestly, it'll be like 10 a.m. and we'll have an early start, and she'll just be buzzing. And we're all just like, Steph, it's 10 a.m, babe, come on. But she does carry out the whole energy the whole time, to be fair. So it does pick you up. But honestly, I don't know how she does it.
Thank you. I'm just like a hype man. I'm just there to get the girls riled up where I can.
Sounds like my kind of personality, Steph. Don't change.
I will.
Maybe change it to 11 o'clock and not 10 o'clock, and we've got a deal.
So, all right, Annie, listen, we'll let's bring things to a close with yourself. Obviously, dream season for you so far. I guess more of the same, please, on Sunday. What's been the trick to your season so far, Annie? Is there anything that you've done this season that's different to others? Again, and what are your aims between now and the end of this season?
I would like to dedicate my season so far to lanes. No, honestly, last season was the first season with the girls, and it was hard to work out how we played together. And this season, I think we've all just clicked so well, and everyone knows how everyone else wants to play. Lanes knows I like tap-ins, so she just puts it on a plate. But yeah, no, I just hope it can continue for the rest of the season, to be fair.
Well, we're right behind you, girls. We're right behind you. Listen, I mean, I spoke a little bit about Carla Heaton right at the start of the show. Is there anything any of you or all of you, or whoever would like to say anything? Is there anything you'd like to say? Really, really tragic news that broke today. Kind of stopped us in our tracks, and I was really, really grateful for the feedback that you gave us in terms of like, no, look, crack on with the show. It's what Carla would have enjoyed, what she would have liked. Is there anything any of you guys would like to say to her? I'm hopeful that her family will take some comfort listening back into the recording of this show. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I think Carla, you can't describe her because she was such a person that was just a lovely, vibrant and amazing person. And I think you're right. She would have loved this sort of thing because anything used to make her laugh, just the simplest little things. She was always laughing and making everyone laugh. And it was a pleasure to play with her and watch her progress from when I first met her to before she left. She just came on with her confidence in leaps and bounds. But I'm just hoping that obviously time will help her family and friends be able to listen to this and see that she was an integral part of the team and she will be missed.
Lovely words, Alice, and I'm sure they're echoed by all of your teammates that are on with us tonight and anyone else that's listening in. Well, listen, I mean, look, we wish you all the best. I'm really, really looking forward to meeting you in person, Alice. Unfortunately, Lanes and Annie have had to put up with me in the past, and likewise, Steph, looking forward to making acquaintances with you on Sunday. Just a little reminder to everyone listening in, this show is going to be live from 11 o'clock. So tune into the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge 11 o'clock on Sunday for pre-match analysis, full match commentary, and post-match analysis of Swindon Town women versus Plymouth Argyle women at the county ground. Ladies, you're more than welcome to hang around as we continue this shithouse fest with by bringing all of my panel into the mix, because we're gonna just have a little trip down memory lane to talk about some of our favourite shithousing. We are not going to be offended, ladies, if you one by one start dropping away, by the way, but you stay and you contribute, you do what you like. You're part of the furniture. Settle on down. The water's good. So, listen, I'll bring all the guys back on. Hopefully, they've not all dropped away. Joe, are you still with us? Ellis, are you still with us?
I am indeed.
Hello,
yeah,
mate.
I'm here, mate.
How are we? So, Chris, and also you, because we're going to be talking about some absolute shithousing behemoths, the titans of the Swindon Town shithousing game. So,
yeah, I am on Wicked That with Darren Bullock.
Yeah, what a well, listen, from one good northern man to talk about another very naughty northern man, Darren Bullock. What are your memories of that? What a shithouse he was. Made a career out of it, didn't he?
The one that sticks out for me is we played Huddersfield away, and I think it was a terrible game, and it finished 0-0. And at the end of it, he takes his Swindon shirt off, and he's got Huddersfield one underneath it.
And he stood on the Swindon Town shirt.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I just that's just the ultimate shithouse, that just takes the piss out of all the fans that have travelled up there.
I think it does. I mean, it was an interesting one, wasn't it, Bullock? Because he's a folk hero at Huddersfield. He'd had a gargantuan falling out with Huddersfield Town back then, and Steve McMahon stepped in, snapped him up, and brought him down to Swindon Town to turn what he felt was we were too nice a team, and he's thrown this absolute incendiary into the centre of our midfield. Scored on his debut, I remember very well. But yeah, just by a curious quirk of football fate, as is always the case, last game of the season, I think it was, Chris, wasn't it? Or
yes, it was. I also seem to remember this.
And he got a standing ovation up there, didn't he, from their supporters? And yeah, as you say, he took off his Swindon shirt. There was a Huddersfield Town shirt. Would put on a Huddersfield hat, a Huddersfield scarf, trod on the Swindon shirt to milk the applause of his adoring Huddersfield public. Shameful scenes.
It was. I could believe it. But I also think that Lee Cox might have been in that same squad, and the pair of them in midfield were a pair of absolute terriers and just kick anything.
Oh, Lee Collins, you mean? Yes, no,
Oh,
yeah, they really were.
yeah.
I mean, there was a time where we had a Bullock, Collins, Scotty Leach midfield triumvirate. I mean, tell me about that. That's
That was,
one of them's going before the final whistle, isn't he?
yeah, I would not have liked to play those three because none of them held back.
Well, Joe, obviously, Joe and Ellis, I'm guessing, Joe, you might have slightly early memories or very, very tender memories of Darren Bullock, but Ellis, there's no chance you'll remember Darren Bullock.
Mate,
No.
I was just listening to this. I've got no idea who this guy is, and I already hate him.
Right,
I
have
can't
you-
even tell you what he looks like. I hate him.
All I
What
would
a
ask
prick.
anyone to do, before you choose your words very carefully, Joe, because I believe that Darren Bullock is now a debt collector in the area. And all I would ask you to do is Google Darren Bullock Swindon, take one look at him and see whether or not you got the courage of your convictions. That's all I'd say to you.
Hang on, right? Let me get on this.
Because, Chris, it's fair to say that Darren Bullock had a certain sort of armed robber look about him.
He did, but I fancy Ellis's chances over Joe's.
I'm looking at a picture of him now, Chris, and so do I.
Listen, the champ is afraid of no man.
I'll give it a good go.
He's I think he owns a window cleaning company and does a bit of debt collecting.
Yeah, always like that guy. What a geezer.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah,
top man.
Yes, nice chap. Which but so I mean, in terms of shithousery, that's a pretty good start. I've always been a fan. I mean, we've just been talking to. I'm sure you've all enjoyed listening to Simon Cox touching on shithousery, and we've got Charlie Austin is going to be joining us because he's got some supreme shithouse tales from up and down the leagues. Some of them involving himself, but certainly a lot involving colleagues and opposition. But I love a good dark horse shithouse, don't we all, Chris? We love a dark horse shithouse, and we've had a fair share of them at Swindon Town, a fair share of them. But the name that got thrown to me recently as a shithouse was Alan Reeves.
I can remember a lot about Alan Reeves, but nothing shithousery sort of comes to mind about him.
In the same way, I think, mate, that Coxey's just talked about Michael Timlin being a shithouse. From what I understand, Alan Reeves was very similar. Now, Alan Reeves, of course, let us not forget, before he joined Swindon Town, he had a fairly big role in the kind of like the last throes of the Crazy Gang era at Wimbledon, alongside the likes of Vinnie Jones and Robbie Earle. So when Wimbledon sold John Scales for quite a lot of cash back then, they did what they did very, very well in that they dipped into the lower leagues and they bought in Alan Reeves. And so Alan Reeves, it's fair to say, will have learned from the best, Messrs. Fashanu, Vinnie Jones, Robbie Earle et al. And so apparently he was very well versed in the dark arts and he had a very sharp tongue on him, did our boy Alan Reeves. Now, I genuinely, Chris, don't have any memories at all, but I'm told that he was really good at the old, picking people up by their armpit hairs and, essentially, standard for a lower league centre half. But yeah, he enjoyed a reducer was what I was told by your boy Alan Reeves, and a lot of this came from Giuliano Grazioli. So Grazzi's show, I believe, is still available to you on all good podcast channels for those of you that want to pick up on your Alan Reeves story. But another player from that era that maybe everyone will remember a little bit better was, of course, Neil Ruddock. Now, Neil Ruddock was a shithouse on a number of fronts, Chris, wasn't he?
Yeah, and we've heard a fair few stories about Neil Ruddock as well. I think, was it Fraser that was telling us about Ruddock on nights out? Well,
so I know Sam Parkin said he's a much maligned and misunderstood figure when it comes to Swindon Town as Neil Ruddock, because there, of course, was the refusal to cancel a contract and the taking of money that had been committed to him by directors, etc., etc. But Sam Parkin will tell you that there would be no Sam Parkin legend at Swindon Town had it not been for Neil Ruddock, which I think is no small compliment in itself. But I just think, Razor was just one of those players, Chris, wasn't he? I mean, if we focus, if we can, on some of the better times of his time at Swindon Town, we've got the shorts, haven't we? So Razor
for like a tent.
Yeah, Razor needed a tent to cover his ample posterior, but he was one of those that he was larger than life character. He would love to have a little. He'd love to be the pantomime villain out on the pitch, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah. But it was certainly entertaining. But it's like I say, it's one of those. You're not going to mess with him, otherwise he'd eat you.
Yeah, and much like there is that, and much like Darren Bullock, of course, scored on his debut, which is always always appreciated, and certainly would have been getting dogs abuse just prior to scoring that. Had a couple of messages in relation to where are we? We had a couple of messages in relation to Razor. Let me just see if I can bring those up from Steve. Hello, Steve. Good evening to you. Steve has sent us his recollections on Razor, and he said Steve actually remembers Razor ripping his shorts, quote, "the fat bastard." And Steve, thank you also for posting the Darren Bullock Wikipedia page. So all of you that don't know much about Bullock or don't recall Darren Bullock, I would absolutely recommend you jump on that and do your background reading. But be careful with your criticisms, because he's a really, really good guy. I've always thought he's a very handsome man, a very debonair man, a better man than me, as I'm sitting here sort of like trembling away in absolute fear. So who else have we got there? So we had Ruddock from that era. But look, moving us along, I mean, who wants to pick up on this one? I mean, Ellis, this is getting into your era. You would have been very, very young, of course. And Joe, I mean, certainly I know Charlie's going to have a thing or two to say about the one, the only Simon Ferry.
I don't see Simon as a shithouse, I'm being honest.
Oh, you are kidding me. Right,
I don't know.
Okay.
He was too small and cuddly to be a shithouse.
Yeah, so he was a proper shithouse.
He was a proper shithouse, Ellis.
The shithouse in that team, for me...
I remember.
Gordon Greer, for me. I feel like Gordon Greer, obviously, he kind of deserved it from... Gordy was, experienced. He was the captain, that. But he was the sort of player, as we well saw in the playoff semi-final, that would fly a boon to someone and not give a shit.
Yeah, I kind of see that. But then at the same time, Cy Ferry was implicated in placing feces into the uplighter of someone's hotel room. So,
I'll give him that. Yeah, right.
That's the kind of shit housing that takes the medal, mate. And I'm fascinated now, because I know we've still got Lanes listening in. And Lanes, please, I'd be really, really interested to know, of all of your teammates in the women's team, who would you most suspect would place their own feces in an uplighter of a hotel?
Oh, that's a proper mad question, that. I mean, I'd like to say none of them.
You're on the spot now. You've got to give one.
Yeah, but then they'll hear this.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. We're shithousing you right now, Lanes.
Probably Alice, to be fair. Captain Alice.
Right, we're going to hold you to that.
Don't tell her I said it.
What we're going to try and do, because I'm pretty sure our next guest... Hello, Charlie. How are you, buddy?
Good morning.
Charlie, was it you that told me the Cy Ferry story about the poo in the uplighter at the hotel?
No, it wasn't me.
I bet you've got a couple of Cy Ferry stories, though.
He was quite... Billy Painter was the one. Cy just reacted off Bill. Cy wanted to be Bill. But Jonathan, we're talking about football-wise, Jonathan Douglas, he didn't. He was a nasty fella. He didn't care. He didn't care who he upset. He was like the one. Cy just followed Bill on the comedy value. Billy and Sean were the ones.
Charlie, whose house was it your era? I'm pretty sure it was. I'm sure it was you. You weren't the guest that told me this, but there was a story about Billy going to someone's house during
Scott Cuthbert's house.
Scotty Cuthbert's house.
They done him for about a month, and they got. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I'd have shit myself. It was me. They basically, when Scotty went training, they got his key cut, and then when he went back home, they obviously got into his house and rearranged his house, and then like if he was at training or he was out somewhere, but he would tell the lads that he was doing something. They would go back to his house and then just like steal pints of milk and stuff, just so it'd like mess with his head. And then one day, this went too far. One day they turn up at his gaff in balaclavas and that. Tried to get him, man. That's too far. Then obviously they said it was them.
So Scotty Cuthbert doesn't strike me as the sort of bloke you want to piss off. Like if you're there
Nah,
with Bart
Scott,
Fathers, I
in
reckon he'd have
time,
thrown
yeah,
hands.
in time, you get that with Scotty. But when you're all together as such that we had such a good group, it kind of was like, but Scotty seemed to take it well. Scotty took it well.
Listen, Charlie, one of my favourite stories about you shithousing actually is actually quite low level. Do you remember the Charlton semi-final, the penalty shootout?
Yeah.
As you've like put yours away, I know you said to me before it wasn't the cleanest strike, but it hit the back of the net. But you gave that delightful little wry smile that only a good shithouse in training can give the home fans. What do you remember? What was being said to you at the time? Because it seemed like you were reacting to someone in particular.
No, I don't know. I was also getting dogs abuse because they was trying to put us off, and I think it was more of a relief reaction that the ball went in Hannah's, if I'm honest.
It was a very cheeky little grin. You must.
Yeah, it was one of them.
Charlie, how was taking that penalty? That was your first sort of professional season, wasn't it? And then you're obviously in a playoff semi-final penalty shootout. Do you remember how you felt? Were you bricking it? Was it all right?
Yeah, it was like my first penalty. I think it was my second penalty. I think as a professional footballer, the first one was in the Johnson Paint Trophy, which don't really count. Yeah, I think I was nervous. I'd say nervous a little bit because of the occasion. However, I was still young and fearless at the time, so I didn't really care. If I'm honest with you, I didn't think about missing. Like that never crossed my mind. Like I was in to take. Like my hand was up to take one. Like I'd just come off the season of scoring 20 goals. Like we're in a position where Philly wasn't on the pitch at the time either. So I think I was just fearless at the time, and it showed that. I think with me, Darbs and Wardy, I think it was Wardy was 18, Darbs was 19, I was 20 at the time. I just think that fearless kind of just was our team, if I'm honest.
Who's your greatest dark horse shithouse teammate, Charlie? Like someone, if you said their name tonight, we would all genuinely be like, no, there's no way. I didn't see that one.
It's one of the biggest is Joe Barton.
Yeah, Joe was. So I got on well with Joe, so I've got to be careful what I say. Joe is what he says on the tin, but when he's in front of everybody on the pitch and stuff. But when you speak to him and you're on a friend level, it's completely different. But Joe just does what he could to win. It didn't matter how he done it. He just wanted to win at all costs. And listen, sometimes he overstepped the mark, like a lot of people do when it comes to that, and other times it was straight down the line. When we was in the Prem with Southampton, that was a good one. We got about. I know there's a big thing about the time wasting thing last weekend and stuff, but it's all right when it's all right when the shoe's on the other foot. And I'm saying that. I'm not just saying that as Swindon fan. I'm saying that as every football fan, every football player. Like if your goalie's just taking ages to take a goal kick and you're winning, you don't mind. But when you're the centre forward, the goalie's taking ages to take a goal kick and you're getting beat. It's the most infuriating thing ever. I remember playing I remember playing at Bournemouth for Saints, and I think we was 2-1 up. I think it was about the 91st minute or whatever. Anyway, Ryan Bertrand was taking a throw in, and they was abusing him down. Anyway, he took a throw in, he launched one down the line, but the ball never come in. It's not a foul throw. It's not a foul throw. It's nothing. He just launched it down the line, and then Lino's flagging. I said, "Oh, the ball didn't come in," so he had to retake the throw. And the camera like goes to him, and you see all the Bournemouth fans giving him shit, and you just see him like pointing at his hand as to like time, and he gives them a wink. Oh my God, mate, they was going absolutely bonkers.
That is probably the best shithouse video you could ever find. I know the one you mean, Charlie. That is like, if you define shithouse, it's literally just a gif of that, and that's all you need.
There's nothing you can actually do. Look, he's gone to take the throw, and he's just launched it down the line, but it hasn't come in play, so he just gets to retake it again. Wastes about 30 seconds. It'd be interesting to see, like, guys, what people think. Obviously, there's a lot of added time going on at the moment at the World Cup, and because they're constantly stopping that to kind of not take it out of the game. Well, yeah, pretty much take that kind of time wasting stuff out of the game. It'd be interesting to see if that actually reflects back when football gets restarted. Obviously, with the Prem and the Championship, and obviously in the Football League going forward, and probably across most of the competitions, whether that's something that they're going to try and do.
To be fair, it's funny you say that. I was watching the second half of the Colchester Bristol Rovers game in the JPT tonight. There was nothing in the second half. There was 9 minutes injury time.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if that's an approach they do take forward. Now, listen, it's a double-edged sword, really. Listen, if you're winning and it's going great, you're doing whatever and you're holding it up, but all of a sudden, if there's like 4 or 5 minutes added on extra, let me tell you, in football, although it might not feel a lot of time, anything, it don't take long to score a goal. Now, only be one mishap from the winning team that's trying to cause time waste and all that, and all of a sudden, the ball comes in the box and it's a goal, and there's still 4 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So, do you know, if they continue to do that, I think you may see it not drift out of the game. You may see less of it. The biggest one is what annoys me the most is when the goalie comes out and just grabs it and then just falls on the floor. But it's amazing when it's your goalie and you're winning. But when it's like anything, if it's going for you, it's great. If it's not, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, that was the story of Saturday, Charlie. I don't mind telling you. Okoronkwo from the Arsenal loanee had a fine routine of grabbing the ball, pretty much running to the edge of his 18-yard box, and then basically taking it to the ground and having a good look around. So,
yeah.
So Charlie, I remember meeting you pretty much the week you signed for Swindon Town, and you were a little cherubic faced Charlie Austin back then, and you had it all ahead of you. Do you feel that you became more of a shithouse with age?
I knew the dark arts because I played non-league football, so I knew how to look after myself. I knew what to do. And then I would say so. Then I just picked up on little things. And then just ran with it.
I feel like you had a good pedigree as well, playing with like Billy Painter and Bobby Zamora, who I know you're close with now, but he was a shithouse in his day. You pick it up.
Yeah, it's just easy to pick things up, and I just think it adds to people's game. Listen, some people don't do it because they just don't think it's necessary for them, but sometimes it just gives you that extra boost you need when you get 10, 15,000, 40,000 giving you dog's abuse. Like just don't worry about it. Sometimes it just gives you that extra little bit of an edge.
Well, look, Charlie, I'm not going to get you to mention names. This is entirely up to you. But can you think of a particular incident where you've deployed some top-tier elite shithousery and it has absolutely come off brilliantly for you? Is there any particular story that springs to mind? Or maybe the first time you did something you thought, that's brilliant, I'm going to do that again?
No, when I celebrate, I don't mind giving it to not shithouse stuff. Mine's just more game management kind of stuff where I know what I'm doing. I remember watching Bill do it. A certain move, and you always used to get a foul, and then I just picked up on it and ran with it. I won't say what it is because you'll see me trying to do it, then all of a sudden it won't come off and I'll be getting abuse, or I'll try and do it and I'll get foul against me, or something, I'll get yellow card. So I just picked it up as we went along. But when we celebrate, I don't mind. Listen, I'm all for the stuff that comes back from the fans. I don't mind what people say about me. I'm not worried about that. But when I score, I do like giving it back. Now, when we played Bristol City last year for QPR, I scored a penalty just before half time. Now I must have celebrated for easy 2.5 minutes. Easy 2.5 minutes, right? And then I was walking back and I was still going there, the whole stadium. I think it was like Christmas time and there was all booing the whole stadium. But as I was walking back, I was kind of egging them on to give it to me louder. And they kind of did, right? It kicked off for like 10, 20 seconds. We walked down the tunnel. They was all giving me dog's abuse. I thought it was brilliant. Anyway, and I remember literally I got a corner about the 91st minute and Andre Vyman for them started giving me a bit. And I said, I was obviously giving it to him back. And from that moment, the corner come in and Johan Barbe scored a header like the 91st minute, put us 2-1 up. I just stood in front of Vyman and stood in front of him and just put my arms up in the air. Remember like back in the day when people used to celebrate, people used to score and not celebrate, but just stick their arms in the air. That's all I'd done, man. I just stood in front of him. And he was like fuming. I think if he was off the pitch, he'd want to try and fight me.
Magnificent.
When it comes off, it's brilliant. When obviously it don't, you just go, oh, for fuck's sake. You gotta swallow it, haven't you? Swallow it.
And obviously, you're not playing at the moment, Charlie, because of the break. But have you
No.
got any early? How are the Aussies with the shit housing? Are they top
Rubbish.
tier, or are they still in the young Padawan territory?
No, listen, they're okay, but they just don't like it when they get it back to them. They don't like it when they're okay at it. I don't mind it. They just don't like it. They don't like it when it gets taken back.
Well, you're a pom, mate. You're a pom. They're not meant to like poms being lit.
Yeah,
that's just Australians.
Yeah, I don't think they like that. But no, the football, like I said to you before, like the football side of it, they're not too bad. We've got a few young lads that you can tell that have got that side about them for sure. But it's quite funny. Like when you see, because obviously when you're getting older and stuff, when you think, is that going to go out of the game, or certain bits going to go out of the game? But certainly with the Aussies, like these younger boys, they certainly got it implemented in them early doors, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one. Like, we make light of it, but I mean, I remember when I worked in football, but I worked on the office side of football, you know, when I worked back in the 442 days. And I remember like employment law becoming a big, big thing. One year in particular, there was a very, very notable shift to people being aware that, you know, one person's banter is another person's bullying. And football, at the end of the day, football and football dressing rooms, it's still a place of employment, Charlie, isn't it? So, like,
I think that the hard thing is realising that, not just myself, but a lot of footballers, and especially with how the modern day footballers coming through now, the younger generation, like the older school kind of stuff is kind of drifting away. But what goes on in a football change room, what gets said in the football, you couldn't really replicate that into an office space or into like another work environment. It is like it's just different to kind of, it's an easy one if you ask like a lot of all the ex-players, what do they miss? It's always the changing room. Yes, it's the day-to-day football, like the football stuff, of course, but it's the changing room, being in there with 20 lads, 20 women, is like, that's what they miss the most, the camaraderie that's in there at the time. So like I say, it's very different to compare with other kind of jobs, other kind of like work environments.
Well, yeah, and it just seems like increasingly over the last sort of 5-10 years, there's been more and more stories about, you know, bullying in the changing room, you know, abuse in the changing room, you know, things that are coming out, you know, young players that are being, you know, mistreated by sort of senior players, and that coming out, and these young lads coming out and saying, look, it ruined my career, it ruined my life. And
that's what I mean. Like, there's a different now. It's like, as it's going forward more now, it's different, and football is changing. It's changed over the last 3 years, changed over the last 5 years, and it's certainly changed over the last 13 years since I've been involved in football. But when I come into it and just see it, I just thought that's just the norm. I didn't mind it. But you can see how other people, and the way the world's going, everything's changing. You can see how people are affected by it, and I think that footballers learn it. It won't ever be perfect. I don't think any place is perfect, but you can always make changes and steps going forward, can't you?
And you're obviously seeing, Charlie, a big change in the type of coaching and managers now that the current generation of footballers will tolerate, aren't you? You know, the likes of the Ron Atkinsons of this world that you and I would have grown up with admiring as like top tier managers, you know, dinosaurs. You know, that's, you know, people are attaching that very, very quickly, aren't they?
Hunters, I am 33 years old, mate.
Yeah, but all right, what are you trying to say? Look, you're not that far beyond.
Ron Atkinson. I think I was still in nappies when he
You just absolutely ruined me, haven't you?
I know what you mean. Like Big Sam, like Sam Allardyce, that guy's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, like the game's evolving, isn't it? The game's moved on from that era. It's certainly moved on now. So I think everybody comes because everyone has their own idea, and every manager or coach has their own setup and way they would like to play and get their teams to play. So, look, now you see 4-4-2, but it's not every place 4-4-2.
Oh, I think we've lost Charlie. Have we lost Charlie?
Over those.
Have we still got you, Charlie? Have we still got you? Have we lost
I think
you?
it's back now.
No,
He's clearly on the move, Joe, isn't he?
I think he's in and out.
Have we still got you, Charlie? We'll give it one last try.
Come back.
I think we were getting the gist of his point. The gist of his point was like, yeah, obviously, boys, that the game's evolving, but it is an interesting time, isn't it, for football? I mean, like,
oh, there he is.
Hey, you're back, Charlie. Oh, it's that really frustrating thing, isn't it, about a live show and people on their mobiles? Oh, we've lost him.
To be fair, he is on the other side of the world.
Yes, he is. He's done very well. But only this year, you've seen, for example, John Yems. I'm not in a position where I'm either going to, I don't know enough about the John Yems story other than the fact that some of the stuff that he was coming out with, multiple players, obviously, within that club, seemed to raise an objection, which cost him his employment. And, he's not the first sort of, coach within the last 5 years that's found themselves in pretty serious trouble. Whereas if you reverse back to when I was a kid, and Chris, you'll probably have a view on this, Chris, talking about like older managers. When you and I were youngsters, say youngsters, put yourself in like, remember when we were the same age as, say, Ellis, for example. I mean, Ellis is Ellis is 19 now, but when I was 19, I don't remember managers being dragged over the coals for stuff going on in the changing room.
No, I think that's probably when I was about that age would have been the year we won the second division under McMahon.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think back to that era, but no, you never really heard of managers and coaches sort of getting themselves in hot water.
We got you back, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, chaps. I was just literally there's one spot just before my road where it cuts out.
No, that's all right, pal. Listen, we were just saying, like, I guess for you the same, Charlie. Like you said, you're 33 years old now. If you reverse back to, say, when you first started getting into football, like, managers just didn't seem to experience the kind of problems that managers and coaches have got into in the last sort of like 5-10 years.
Yeah, and that's very true. And I think if you do look at it, the world has changed. The kids now that are coming through, the younger boys, 18, 19, they are different to what, say, my generation was, let alone the generation before me as such, So it is a transformation. I think everybody is learning. You look how many younger coaches there is now in the game compared to what there was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, So it's very different football at the moment. And I think it will continue to be like that. However, is it for the better? Is it not? Who knows? However, the football that's on offer at the moment all around the world, in the UK, is phenomenal, and hence why the UK is. Let's be honest. I think it's about 95% of the people watch football. Let's be honest, because how good it is on offer, regardless who you support, or what league you watch. There's always good football on offer.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's just like seeing these coaches completely, it's a totally different approach. I'm guessing the days of standing in the middle of the dressing room, sort of, kicking things over, ranting and raving. I mean, it wasn't your era, Charlie. It was obviously after you departed. But, there's the legendary stories of Di Canio's tales at the county ground. And then obviously Di Canio's management style didn't really work at Sunderland. But it was interesting when Scott Lindsay was appointed at the county ground. Everyone was sort of, as usual, clamouring for a Paolo return. Could you see with the modern day pro Paolo actually working out even at Swindon's level in League Two?
Oh, it's horses for courses, isn't it? Let's be honest. Paolo obviously come in and he lived off every word as such. The players did of what he was saying. It's Paolo Di Canio, of course. And then when obviously gone to Sunderland, you can see it's a different kettle of fish. It's different finances for different players. If players are not really having him and they're on 50 grand a week, then listen, they ain't going to do it. They ain't going to do it. And it was shortly after. I remember when Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, he'd done a really good job at Burton to keep them going. He come to QPR and tried to implement the same tactics and the same thing going forward. And the lads are just not really having him. I think he's the worst manager I've ever had. And I wasn't having him from day one, to be honest. So you can understand why sometimes you have to make changes. So maybe Paolo Di Canio took exactly what he did at Swindon to Sunderland and thought it might work instead of. It all depends on the group of players that you have and what you've got in front of you. You know, some players don't take to certain things, and where others do. Where obviously at Swindon it worked immensely, didn't it, for the 18 months or whatever, for 2 years near on that he was there. Then when he went to Sunderland for the 3-4 months he was there, it worked at the starts maybe for 2 or 3 games, and then it certainly the wheels fell off.
Yep, they certainly did. Glorious era nonetheless. Glorious era nonetheless. What's your week got in store, Charlie? What are you up to, pal, down there?
Not a lot really, mate. I just got a few things to sort out. A few irons in the fire, and then no, we don't play for 2 weeks, so I'll just stay and watch World Cup. Bit of training. They got a friendly game this weekend, which I won't play in, and then literally just looking forward to Adelaide on the 9th, and then listen, it's Christmas time and see how we go.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm guessing loads of media in between times, mate. There's always a pull on your time for the media, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know at the moment. I'm just trying to work out where I'm going with it at the moment with the media. Like, football's where it's at, and I want to play football for as long as I can. But I think I'm at the point now where I'm mainly just to put the foot towards the coaching and the managerial side if the opportunity comes, whatever it is down the line. But for me at the moment, I want to continue playing wherever that is, whether that's here, whether that's back home, wherever that is in the world. So for me, just to keep ticking over, mate, and see how we get on.
Oh, mate. Well, listen, we're watching you like a hawk as always, and sending you all our best.
Thank you, guys. Well, it's 8:25 in the morning here, so I'm going to enjoy my day.
You got to have a productive one. Hopefully, you're on the golf course.
I wish, mate. I wish. Right, I'll catch you later, chaps. Take care.
Take care, pal. All the best, Charlie.
Bye.
Cheers, Charlie.
See, now he was a dark horse, let me tell you. But the thing about Charlie was he's a very expressive character, wasn't he? I don't know which of you good folk want to have a little chat about Charlie. I mean, Joe, you're one of my favourite stories, like I said, was the very understated little wink at the Charlton fans during the playoff semi-finals. But he obviously had to put up with some shithousen as well. I mean, we talk about the chance missed at Wembley, of course, in front of arguably the world's biggest shithouse supporters. But I mean,
that's the one club you don't want to do that in front of, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say pretty much so. But then at the same time, you know, if you're playing for Southampton, you know, you've got some fiery derbies down there as well, haven't you? Albeit, you know, he was there. Pompey weren't necessarily. I mean, they were on their way down, weren't they? Let's be honest. But West Brom as well. I think West Brom were doing what they were doing. They never really had to worry too much about. Well, no, mind you, they had the Wolves derbies and stuff like that, didn't they? But Charlie had. I think he kind of. I think what would be very interesting is if you had the likes of Billy Painter on, and Billy was, and we're going to do our damnedest to get Billy on but Billy's a real Pandora's box. There's some wonderful stories to come from Billy Painter, but you talk to people about Charlie Austin and some of the ways that he managed his opposition out on the pitch. Ellis, you must have some Charlie Austin memories, surely.
Very, very early memories, to be honest with you. A little bit before my time.
So I think in terms of what I remember of Charlie just pissed people off because he was good. Like, he'd score goals just at will. Every single league game, it seemed like anyway, he'd score goals and just piss off away fans by being there and notching.
Yeah, and scoring goals.
He celebrated big time as well. He used to give it as he said, a 2.5 minute long celebration, and he'd tend to. A lot of his goals obviously were 6-yard box and maybe back post, and he'd run across the defence to celebrate, and it was just a case of, I think he just naturally his striker instincts were just to ruffle some feathers. Well,
look, we'll park Charlie, and because Ellis, I don't want to drown you in too much nostalgia. The next guy is right up your strata, Ellis Holloway. So we're still talking about our favourite Swindon shit houses, and you could argue that one of the reasons I think we actually, when the final whistle went on Saturday, we took it actually quite well, is a certain Harold McCurdy Esquire.
Yes.
Obviously, we had the best part of a couple of years of young Harold, didn't we, really? All right, year and a bit. But there was there's a little bit of live by the sword, die by the sword, isn't there? When you've had a player like Harry in your squad for 18 months, shall we say?
Yeah, you can sort of understand the pain of other teams, can't you?
Yeah, and any player that incurs the wrath so much that a Northampton Town fan in a wheelchair wants to run him over, I think that just pretty much typified Harry. So he was very open, Elliot. I mean, I just want you to wax lyrical about him but the one thing I would say to just sort of get you going, Ellis, was that Harry was very open about the fact that he absolutely fed off the vitriol, didn't he? That would be aimed in his direction. Like he would try and generate it, and then it literally supercharged him, didn't it?
Yeah, just like you said, all of the Instagram posts that he'd be putting up after games about referees, about I'm sure everyone on here saw the post about the Newport. It was a Newport defender calling him Voldemort. Just all these little things. Just
Kevin Ellison and him, and just to caveat that they've actually become quite pally from what I understand, and there's been a lot of mutual sort of backslapping and potential charity work coming off the back of it. But yeah, he knew literally. So you could almost break it down, Ellis. So like in the first instance, like you said, his use of social media as a shithousing tool was pretty. He was pretty brutal on there, wasn't he?
Yeah. Just after every game, you'd be looking on his Instagram, waiting for a post.
And he incurred the wrath of everyone, Ellis, didn't he? Including, I mean, obviously we had four of the women's team on earlier, but so some of the women's team were absolutely sort of spewing, particularly management, when he likened watching the women's team to watching paint dry. So his ire wasn't always necessarily reserved for the Oppo, was it?
No, I think sort of Harry's problem was that he probably didn't think before he posted, and it was sort of in the moment. Just he probably didn't think.
Joe, what was your favourite Harry McCurdy memory?
My favourite memory?
Yeah,
in
shit
terms
house
of
memory, that is.
Right, shit house memory. Okay. I mean, there's literally in one season, there's probably about 50 different examples to pick from.
A couple from the top of my head would be celebrating in front of the Carlisle fans.
Oh, no, yeah, that is number one. A burger, a flying Big Mac.
The burger and chips went flying.
Yeah. And another personal favourite was against Port Vale in the first leg of the playoffs when he scored, and he ran up to Stratton Bank and celebrated in front of their fans as well.
Oh, magical. What about you, Chris? What was your favourite?
I can remember actually McCurdy in that game at Carlisle actually celebrating in front of all three Carlisle stands.
Take the trophy, surely, that one.
Well, see, I particularly enjoyed Forest Green because it was on TV, and it was just that the little casual, we'd just stand in front of them and almost do a little shrug. You're like, and what of it? Like, absolutely. But the Forest Green fans that he was celebrating in front of, it was almost like doing it in front of the family enclosure. They were just sort of sat there bemused.
Well, all 12 of them.
Yeah, exactly. It was so non-league. Like, they couldn't have been more non-league if they tried. And I think it was a little bit like they were almost quite clever because you'd like to think that it was like, well, just don't give him what he wants. But I think in reality, we all know it's because they just, quite frankly, don't know how to behave, how to react.
Well, here's one for you. Go on. Right, here's one for you, Hannahs. So McCurdy for me surely is probably the most the shithousiest player, if that's a word, that I've ever seen at Swindon. Maybe barring Lawrence Figuroo. I think if Figuroo had social media to the point of which Harry McCurdy does in 2022, he'd have been quite bad too. But who would you say, if they were in 2022 and your time supporting town, would be as bad as Harry McCurdy online and, giving it the big un every Saturday on socials, getting bans, getting fines? If you could pick one player from years gone by, pre-social media, who would you liken him to?
Oh, God, that's a really, really, really good question. I think probably someone like, if I think back to sort of 89, 90, then I would probably say, I reckon Steve Foley, from the Ardiles promotion, and obviously a big player for Macari as well. I would say Steve Foley, who signed him from Liverpool. He was very, very underrated. I remember him once scoring 4 against Stoke. But he had a wicked side to his personality. If you talk to some of the older guard, you know, the likes of Fraser Digby about Stigger, he was a little bit of a wild man. So I think I almost look at it like as in eras. And I think if you move from that sort of Ardiles Macari era into the Hoddle era, I think they were all a pretty respectful bunch. I think there was. I mean, I've always been told that Steve White is, and it's interesting because Steve White doesn't necessarily have his own social media presence, but Steve is very present through things like the official supporters club, co-coms with Andrew Hawes, and I think you can hear a little bit of devilment in his voice. And I'm told that John Moncur was a bit of a rascal as well. So I think John Moncur for me. And then I think as you start sort of coming out of like the early 90s, starting in the 2000s, you start coming into the period where social media became a thing. And then I think it all becomes a little bit more predictable. But those were the names that I would give. But listen, I wanted to tell you about the McCurdy. I'll give you my personal memory up close and personal. I remember when we did our end of year awards last year, we were a little bit concerned what it was going to be like coming face to face with McCurdy. And I mean, I some of the regular listeners will know that I was very involved with 442 back in the day, and I used to attend a lot of kind of awards dinners and things like this, like for example the PFA awards and the HMV football extravaganza that is on supporting Nordorf Robbins, a music therapy charity, which attracts literally the great and good of football. And I likened it to a night where I met Eric Cantona. I had the same kind of feelings when it came to meeting Harry McCurdy, and not because of anything kind of necessarily football related, but more because not necessarily being able to read the character. Anyway, so obviously we get invited into the kit room and there's Hoops and Jonah, and surely enough, the players are coming in dribs and drabs. And Hoops says to me, yeah, we've not got Harry coming because, Harry can be a bit Harry. And yes, the first time we've done this, we just want to make sure that it all goes off smoothly. Couple of minutes later, the door flies open and in walks Mr. McCurdy. Cheeky grin on his face. And he's like, well, I weren't invited, so I've invited myself. And he sits himself down and he's asked by my co-host on the day, is there any teams that you fear going into the playoffs? And I remember Jack Payne being very professional and saying, well, and Willow and Davison all sort of like looking at us, all being very professional, and Hunty being very professional. And, and my co-host said, yeah, I don't really fancy Rovers because, they're on a good run, etc., etc. And McCurdy just looking with utter disdain and going, you sound like a pussy geezer. Live on air.
I literally love the man so much. Everyone, we've had this conversation before on the show, so I won't ask the question again. But the question on, would you want McCurdy back in the Cali ground? Yes, every day, yes, please.
Yeah, Simon Cox mentioned it earlier in the show, but these are the sort of players that you need in the squad. That at the end of the day, it puts bums on seats, and it just creates a bit of excitement in the game. Like every time Harry got the ball, I don't think anyone, including Harry, knew what he was going to do with the ball, and it just creates that little bit more excitement in the game.
Here's a bit to add on to that as well, Ellis. Can you name me another player over the last 20 years that you've seen on the back of as many shirts as McCurdy?
No,
honestly,
not
like
at all.
McCurdy on the back of shirts last year, every kid under the age of 15 had McCurdy at the back of the shirt.
Well,
without fail.
that moment when he scored against Man City, it's just like it's iconic, isn't it? Especially for young Town fans, that's gonna be sort of their main sort of memory as they're growing up as a Town fan.
But I'd forgotten about the Man City goal. I'd like to think the kids were wearing him on the back of the shirt just for mugging off Kevin Ellison and calling referees C words.
But this is, unfortunately, we're talking about shithousing, ladies and gentlemen, and I think, wrapping up on Harry McCurdy as one of our favourite shithouses, I think with Harry coming back, it comes an awful lot of baggage, and that's why, for me, Clive, it's a firm no, I'm afraid. But listen, we're going to move on, and we're going to go to a player that will resonate with a slightly older element of the audience. And Chris, this is where you're going to come into your own. I mentioned him already. Steve White as a favourite, Chalky White as a favourite Swindon shithouse. One of the reasons I've mentioned him, Chris, and I just wanted to talk about Wembley 1990. There was some epic shithousing coming off the bench. This guy has scored for us at every single level of the game. Comes off the bench, replacing Craig Maskell, and very, very quickly gets involved in some epic shithousing. Chris, the stage is yours.
I was there. I was very young. Well, not very young then, but I was ecstatic there as well. It was just, there was hardly any touch there, wasn't there? He went flying.
This is the thing, Chris. I just love the fact that he's always maintained that it was quite clear. There was quite clearly contact, and he was clearly fouled. And it's even now, it's still said with a certain kind of winkiness in his voice, for want of a better word, that tells you that he knows that, quite frankly, that was a dive, and we all know it.
Yeah, well, he felt the touch, didn't he? He just went down as well. It was, and I couldn't even watch that penalty. I really couldn't.
But how ironic, Chris, when you think back. I mean, I was saying earlier, I mentioned John Moncur as having a little bit of a rascal about him, but that's not a side that you associate with shithousing. Excuse me. Glenn Hoddle played the game the right way. He kind of got his team playing the game the right way. A little bit like Brian Clough in Damned United. You know, talking about, not wanting to, certainly not wanting to cheat our way to the top. It just seemed like the irony of ironies, the shithouse twist in that 1993 promotion season, that a quality bit of shithousing from an ace dark horse shithouser in Chalky was what actually took Swindon Town to the promised land. I just find there is a sweet poetic irony about that, Chris.
Yeah, there is as well. It was just that. It was one of those things. Just as that the ball came in, it was, and when he went down, I thought, it looked, even from wherever we were, it was a dive.
But his body shape, his body shape was a little bit like a Tyrese Shade flip, wasn't it? His sort of legs went first.
It was like almost as if you come anywhere near me, I'm going down.
All right. Well, Chalky, we salute you. We tip the hat to you. We're going to move on to the next one. None other than, again, absolute supreme shithouse. Ellis, you were certainly a mascot during his era. One, the only Paolo Di Canio. Who wants to run with this? Where do you start? Where do you stop? Blimey. I mean, all I will say, I'll start by saying this. The thing that always got me about Paolo was the scarf and the hand gestures to the supporters, where he let them know, you lot staying down, even if you've beaten us, we're going up. And there was the scarf waving on the Oxford pitch. There was the bomb squad and some of his treatment of players that he fell out with at the county ground, the shithousing of some of these guys. I mean, we could literally dedicate an entire show, but we're going to speak about him in a couple of minutes flat. So who wants to go?
My favourite at Di Canio shithouse was Northampton. We scored in the last minute, whatnot, and he just ran on the pitch and celebrated with the players.
Oh, what an epic moment. Yeah, Rafa De Vita desperately trying to pull him back and enjoy the moment. That was pretty special. And then, of course, we've got Leon Clark, who Paul Caddis so brilliantly live. As we were live at the county ground, as regular listeners will remember, on Saturday. And Paul Caddis told us all about the Leon Clark story, and basically Clark running through the bowels of the stand, having to run through the Southampton fans to get away from Paolo, and ended up out on the centre circle of the pitch. Now, that was epic shithousery, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was just he was a nutcase, wasn't he? And Caddis also spoke about that time when a small group of players went out for a night out down in Old Town, and somehow he sort of found out. They're not sure how, but
he had the bouncers on the payroll.
He had all the on the payroll, didn't he? Quite clearly.
And got to training the next day, and he didn't take to it lightly, did he? He got them all to dance or something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we ended up losing to Aldershot, and he was Fabrizio let them dance. So, but that was the thing about Paolo. He literally shithoused everybody, didn't he? He shithoused his own players. He shithoused the away fans. The interesting thing was Paolo always had an absolutely brilliant relationship with Swindon Town supporters. And my son was also a mascot, same similar age to you, my boy.
Yeah.
I was amazed when I became face to face with Paolo. Similar to what I was saying about McCurdy, Cantona, these sort of maverick characters. You never know what sort of personality you're going to face. He was absolutely delightful, but as soon as he crossed that white line or got near that white line, he was the fierce competitor. And it was just a shame the way it all came to an end, unfortunately, at Swindon Town. I kind of felt that was the only time his own supporters were shithoused, and I think we would disagree with that as a term to use. But the way that he left the county ground, the position in the league we were in at the time, we could have gone on to achieve so much more if only he just sat there for another couple of months and just seen it through for us. And I think that's the only thing that really blights his time with us, isn't it?
Yeah, like you said, Hannah's. He always had a good relationship with the supporters. Like my one sort of encounter with him was when I was mascot away at Portsmouth, and basically part of the package was that you get to sit in on the team talk, which I doubt would ever happen now. But got outside the dressing room, and one of his assistants come out and said, "You can't go in there," and all we heard was him shouting, like fucking this, fucking that, like top of his voice, like shouting, swearing. So yeah, we stayed outside. All the players come out to go get warmed up, and then he was in there on his own, invited me in, had a good chat. Just seemed like a real lovely bloke, and the one thing I do remember was he smelled absolutely delightful.
He's Italian, of course he did.
I don't know what he had on, but yeah, that's all I remember.
Armani.
That's a nice segue into our next guest, because those of you that were with me on Saturday will testify. Another individual, he's a red and he hates Oxford, who also smelled spectacular.
He did.
On Saturday was a certain Paul Caddis. And now Paul Caddis has got that. I don't know whether it's something in the DNA for when you play for Celtic, you learn to be a class act in the shithouse stakes. But Paul Caddis is a shithouse, isn't he?
100%. Well, like you said, Celtic must breed shithouses with him and Cy Ferry.
So Caddis is a very low level, understated shithouse. But what I love about Caddis is, as soon as Paul decides he's going to emerge on social media, he emerges in such a way that he makes it clear that I am indeed a red and I hate Oxford. That's a really, really good place to start. But the thing that I'm going to say about Caddis that was wonderful from Saturday was just that little twinkle in his eye when we said to him, right, okay, we've turned this around fairly quickly. You're going to come to the county ground on Saturday. We're going to do what we did on Saturday. And the interesting thing about that is we're playing Crewe. And the look of devilment on Paul's face, it was absolutely class. And he made a point of giving a trophy to Rockin' Robin. And he sent Rockin' Robin down to do his bidding, which was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, like you said, it was like the stars aligned, wasn't it? Like everything sort of was meant to be that day, obviously barring the result. But yeah, that moment when we were in the what do you call it? I've lost my train of thought. When we were waiting to go on the pitch.
Oh yeah, we're in a tunnel.
That's it, tunnel. I don't know how I forgot that word. When we were in the tunnel, like just he looked like he was ready to lead the team out.
Yeah, in the zone. Absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly. He was in the zone, and we sort of just stood to the side and let him take it in. But yeah.
That's a very, very good way of putting it, Ellis, actually, because he really, really was. I mean, I circulated some pictures of Paul in the tunnel, but I think obviously a very, very emotional time on a couple of fronts. One is obviously he's there representing little Summer, who's 10. And those of you that are aware, Paul nearly lost Summer 3-4 weeks ago, or 5 weeks ago now. It really, really was that serious. And delightfully, she's made a full recovery, which is incredible. And Paul very kindly shared some wonderful pictures of little Summer with me the last couple of days. And she just looks a picture of health. So Summer, we're sending you all our best. But there's that element to it. And then there's also the element of, the 2020 sort of celebrations being cut short and him not being able to go out and present those trophies. That was a big moment for him. He really stressed to me that, the anticlimax of standing on the pitch 2 meters apart from all of those boys that he won the league with, not being able to share that with the supporters was something that, pretty much that was like the end of his career, because he doesn't really count the next season, which was a bit of a weird joke anomaly of a season, and he lost all of his love for football, unfortunately, during the COVID season, and probably retired a year or two too early. But the interesting thing that Saturday gave him the opportunity to do what I hope at some point Charlie Austin gets the opportunity to do at Swindon Town. For Paul, it was lifting the trophy to the fans. For Charlie, it's the bobble. And I know that both those guys have got unfinished business. I think for Paul now, he's drawn a line under it. And obviously we can dream about Charlie returning. But listen, I mean, I just wanted to sort of tip our hat to Paul Caddis. I think he wasn't an extreme shit house as a Cy Ferry's best mate, but he certainly had that shit house streak. Now, listen, we've had a lovely note from Mike Dixon, and Mike says, I think some of the best shit housing I've seen was from Jason McAteer when we played Tranmere. During a break in play, the Shrivden Road stand questioned whether McAteer had put a few pounds on. So he started picking out individuals in the crowd and taking the mick. It really was quite funny. Yes, Mike, Jason McAteer was not known necessarily for his immense intelligence amongst other professional footballers, but I seem to recall the game that you are talking about, and Jason McAteer was a delightful shithouse. I mean, it's an interesting point, isn't it? I've always found, boys, I don't know how you feel about it, when football fans start calling footballers fat, it's thin ice you're treading on there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's to be a professional footballer and be fat. It doesn't really go, does it?
No, not
It's
really.
always the case as well. Whenever you do that chant, or whenever you pick a player out for being fat or calling him fat, they always bloody score.
Yeah, and especially if you look at the people that are chanting it as well, who are probably like twice their weight.
Oh, Ellis, I feel attacked there.
Oh, I'm not talking to you, Joe. Don't worry.
Well, listen. So thank you, Mike. Yes, we appreciate that input, and we'll move ourselves along. We'll look straight at the top of our list. We're going to talk about our shithouse villains now. So we've talked about our shithouse heroes, but these are the guys that I think if we're really, really honest, with maybe a couple of exceptions, more than a couple, in fact, we would definitely have some of these individuals wearing the red of Swindon Town, and we would probably love it under certain circumstances. But the first one that incurred our ire, let's go back to Saturday. And let's talk about a certain Dan Adjie. The only guy I've ever seen take a football to the head, stand up for about 10 seconds and then collapse, causing an entire ground to erupt with absolute abject. Oh, it was awful, wasn't it, on Saturday, Dan Adjie?
Yeah, the clip. I saw a clip on Twitter. I think it was sort of a clip of the game, but you hear the initial laugh of the Don Rogers stand laughing that he got hit in the face, and then the moment he falls, everyone stands up and starts booing. It's a top shouts moment, I guess.
Yeah, there was. You've got to give the boy credit. Chris, hit your mute button. We've got some terrible feedback coming from you. We're absolutely dynamite shit housing from Dan Adjie at the weekend, in fairness. And like I said, it was quite funny, actually. I don't think I've ever experienced it. I don't know how you felt about it, Joe, but I've never really experienced a game like that where we've been on the receiving end of such shit. And we talked earlier about the McCurdy factor, and people were like, yeah, like I said, a bit live by the sword, die by the sword. It's a bit rich for us to go in really hard on Adjie after what we've been dishing out to teams for the last 18 months.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think McCurdy ever did anything like that. I don't think he was. He wasn't the type that was sort of go down with a delay and go down stages and make it all theatrical. McCurdy was just a sort of, need for speed, all in your face, like pure sort of adrenaline every 5 seconds. He wasn't really that case of like that sort of pantomime villain. I feel like to me it's something we haven't really seen before at Town. I can't think of a player that's done it like that before. It's a game that we should have been winning as well. We were playing well. We were losing to a dubious penalty shout because I literally live on the sword of Ronan Darcy getting that ball. I think he got the first touch on that penalty shout.
I I'll tell you what really occurred to me at the weekend, Joe, was when their skipper walked over to Dan Adjie and actually lifted him up and was shaking his head, and you could almost see the skipper going, "All right, mate, like it's actually."
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that was, I mean, it was bullshit, wasn't it?
I think sort of going back to McCurdy's sort of more like the annoying little brother that's just annoying, and you want him to basically go away. But what happened on Saturday was just taking the piss, really. Like, it's just like there's no need.
That was pure. I said the biggest shithouse was Harry McCurdy. I've changed my mind now because, as Ellis said there, McCurdy, his antics were kind of like a little sibling or a 5-year-old kid having their first sort of Coca-Cola and having a sugar rush. That was McCurdy all over. Whereas last week was just, he was just being a dick.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that.
How many times did he actually go down though?
Well, you had the small matter at the weekend as well of Arthur Okoronkwo as well, who during the 90 minutes had been very well behaved and had absorbed most of the vitriol the town end were dishing out. He didn't actually get an awful lot of it because I think most people were appreciating that there was a decent goalkeeper on show. But when that final whistle went, there was someone lit the shithouse fuse, and Mr. Okoronkwo very much enjoyed his little dance around the 6-yard box, boys, didn't he?
Wow, I don't think he could really risk giving it a bit to the fans and then conceding the goal, could he? So I think fair enough for doing it after the whistle.
Yeah, and again, all credit to him because we've had a Lawrence Figueroa who's done a lot worse than that.
Yeah, precisely.
So we take that on the chin. So listen. This is probably one for you, Joe, I would say. I'll ask for your comments on this, just in the interest of trying to move us along through this shithouse villains gallery. A certain Steve Evans, Joe, has come up in the list of shithouse villains. Now, I remember Crawley away and the dinner bell ringing and everyone asking, is that your dinner bell? But Steve Evans, he's someone that balls your piss, isn't he?
He is. It's just the look of him. I don't mean to be horrible. I don't want to judge people on how they look, but he's got a slappable face, and he always seems to get the better of us as well. And I think that's the annoying thing. We can talk about shithouses all we like, and players that are known for being shithouses, or sort of people within football that are known to be within shithouses. But Steve Evans always gets the better of Swindon. He always beats us. Well, I think that adds to us.
That's all it is. Steve Evans builds very, very successful lower league football clubs.
I mean, he's got his 32 games in at Stevenage. He's won 20 of them. That's not bad.
That's incredible. It's an incredible.
I wouldn't be paying £300 a season to watch it though, personally. But to be fair, if you win the league, you get promoted. Who are we to tell you that you've not played well or played good football?
Well, there are people that have worse records than him at Gillingham. There are people that have had worse records than him at Crawley, where he did a super job, in fairness to him. And who's the side? For some reason, only because it's a bit late.
Was he at Leeds? Did he go to
Leeds? He was at Leeds and Rotherham.
Yeah,
and Rotherham as well, yeah.
Leeds, Rotherham. And who was the side that went bust that Julian Joachim finished his career at? Leicestershire way, Chris. Got up in the Football League with going great guns, and then went pop. That was kind of where he really made his name. And it will occur to me if anyone's listening can think of
Dagenham and Redbridge, is it?
No, not Dagenham and Redbridge. They're Northern. Well, I think it was East Midlands club. It will occur to me. But anyone wants to Google Julian Joachim's career, it was the latter stages of that. But yeah, Steve Evans, very much part of the shit house of villains. Now,
has anyone seen that dog?
Which one?
The one in the picture with Steve Evans that he looked like he was going to eat.
Oh, good Lord. No. But look, here's a fascinating character for you. Because you could say this guy should be in the Swindon Town shithouse Hall of Fame because he was our gaffer. But for very, very good and understandable reasons, he's a shithouse villain. And that is, of course, the dinosaur himself, Shez. John Sheridan, ladies and gentlemen, sat right there in the shithouse Hall of Fame. United. Well, so there's a couple of things for me with Sheridan. Not only did he not resign when he really should have, and put us all out of our misery, but then he had the audacity to come back with Oldham and flick us all the middle finger.
To be fair, that made the day even better, didn't it?
Oh,
Let's not piss around here.
What
He
game
kicked
that
us
was
all
as
off.
well.
And then Dion Conroy, who was one of the players that he was vilifying in the press while he was with us, he was obviously really affecting Dion's sort of mental health, and just he wasn't enjoying his football under him. He wasn't enjoying life under him. For him to come back with a 90th minute winner, which, I mean, prove me wrong, boys, I think that might be his only ever goal for Swindon. He
scored another. He has scored others, because I remember him scoring one off a corner when it was like in a 3-0 win or something. So he definitely scored another.
Well, in my head, that's the only goal that Dion Conroy ever scored for Swindon.
Joe,
and it's like,
Joe, I'm with you, mate. I mean, that was epic shithousing from Conroy on Sheridan, who had been shithoused in reverse for the best part of 6 months. In the towards the tail end of Shez's time at Swindon Town, and Dion certainly got his comeuppance. But that incident was an interesting one for me as well, because Dion was being shithoused by the Swindon fans as well. And after the match, I thought it was all very convenient that Dion said the old hands being cupped to the ears was all about Sheridan. In effect, I think he was actually trying to send a message to the Swindon fans. I don't know whether you have an opinion on that.
Andrew's commentary on that goal was sublime as well.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I think it's fair that it's just a shame that couldn't have been piped through to Shez, because I think there was a little bit of cathartic kind of ranting wrapped up in Andrew Hawes's commentary for that particular moment.
It was as you say, it was cathartic. The whole situation was cathartic. The only way that it could be better was if we scored a goal, maybe even if it wasn't Conroy, maybe if Taylor Curran was playing for Oldham and Tyrese Omotoye was playing for Swindon, and Omotoye scored a goal, like 90th minute, beating Curran to it, and then doing a knee slide in front of John Sheridan. That to me would have been perfect.
Yeah, delightful. Well, listen. Okay, here we've got a shithouse supreme. I was asked to add him to the list, and I'm going to get one of you guys to elaborate, because I can't bear to even talk about the bloke. I despise him so much. Former Oxford United striker Chris Bloody Maguire always scores against us, no matter what club he's playing for, and he absolutely hates Swindon, doesn't he?
I think you mean Chris Betting Maguire.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. He's been done for it.
Oh, it's a matter of public record. Yes, in that case.
Hasn't he signed for Hartlepool?
I think he's been sacked by Hartlepool since.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I mean, he has just got that thing about him, hasn't he? He loves celebrating in front of us, no matter who he's played for after his time up the A420. He's absolutely loved rubbing our nose in it. But at the same time, he's one of those interesting characters where, certainly if you speak to certain folks that are on our WhatsApp group or part of our social circle, guys, they're saying, wouldn't it be great if we had a Chris Maguire type up top? There's not a cat in hell's chance. I mean, he'd set foot in the county ground, he'd burst into flames, wouldn't he? He's that hated.
Well, no, it wouldn't. It definitely wouldn't work for him. You know, there's certain players that you could never accept coming to your club, and he's top of the list.
Yeah, it's like Steven Gerrard signing for Man United, isn't it? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but he's, I mean, proper nasty piece of work, proper shithouse, isn't he? You just know, though, every time you see him on the team sheet, he's going to score, and more often than not, he did, right?
Yeah, but pretty much every game.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Someone that was his gaffer for quite a while was also appeared on our list, and that he was contributed by a certain Will Fowler, none less, and that's Carl Robinson. What an absolute shithouse. So, interestingly enough, Robinson early in his career was on the coaching staff under Steve McMahon. And then he ends up managing Oxford United, and he made it abundantly clear that he knew how to play the rivalry stakes, didn't he, Carl Robinson? Now, the interesting story, and Will would have liked to have come on tonight. Unfortunately, he's not available this evening to bring the story alive. But those of you that are interested, please go back and listen to our admin story, where we had a whole bunch of former Swindon Town social media, head of media, admin types coming on and telling us their story, including Will and Ben Hook. But Will tells a brilliant story, having tweeted about the fact that Oxford have only got 3 stands. When the Swindon Town coach and staff arrived at the Kazan, just ahead of the show that has ended up with a match that has ended up with this show being named after a certain stocky central defender come striker. A certain Cole Robinson went hunting for Will Fowler and was pursuing him around the pitch, trying to get hold of him. So aggressive and angry he was that Will Fowler had pointed out that Oxford, out of the two clubs, was the only club that only had 3 stands. So Cole Robinson, shithouse supreme. He's an easy character to dislike, isn't it, guys? Is probably the best way to put it.
Oh, yeah, as well. I remember in the COVID season as well, when we postponed the game against Oxford, and he went absolutely mad, saying, "Oh, we should be awarded this and that," and like we were scared to play him.
And then he had the cheek only a matter of weeks later to do the same thing to somebody else. And
they did 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. So, yeah, Carl Robinson, you absolute shithouse. But longest serving manager, I believe, in the Football League, is he not now?
Couldn't care less.
He's up there.
Yeah, let's just move along. Unfortunately, though, we're still in yellow territory with the next one. Now, this is more the snarky, snipey comments that have got Michael Appleton a place in the shithouse villains list. So Michael Appleton, former manager at the Pox, he was somebody that just knew how to boil the piss. But he wasn't necessarily as vitriolic, I don't believe, as Cole Robinson. But he would just give it really blunt. He would just be very, very rude about us and unpleasant about us. But any of you guys got a Michael Appleton memory?
I can't really remember too much from him as a shithouse. Nothing really jumps out at all about him.
He was shithouse in the sense that he beat us. But other than that, I think the biggest shit. Who was the player that who scored against us when we went 1-0 up? Fankasi Dabo scored early on, and they come back and they won 2-1. And I think the player that scored the second goal, I can't remember who it was, but he smacked down one of our advertising boardings. To me, that was just a dick move. So he's on the shit out list as well.
Oh, they're just a horrible club full of horrible people.
Definitely. I think going on if we got on to sort of Swindon shithouse, I know we've talked about villains here. One that's popped into my head just recently was Nathan Thompson. I don't think he gets into. I'm not seeing him on a list of anyone that's engaged with sort of popping names in the hat, but he was a shithouse, wasn't he? I mean, you think Bristol City with the celebrations or the trademark Thompson flop?
Absolutely timeless celebration in front of the City fans. So yeah, I mean the nature of that win, late win, red card, and Tomo just running down the pitch and celebrating and being reported to the police for nothing more, nothing less than celebrating in front of them. Yeah, Tomo. I'll allow that little sojourn back into the Hall of Fame as opposed to the Hall of Shame. But Joe, I'll bring us back to the Hall of Shame because a character that divides opinion. And whilst we're still talking about A420-ites, is, of course, former Swindon striker, went on to have a fairly unsuccessful stint at Oxford United. Similar hair to me, of course, Tommy Mooney.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, mate, that's probably a bit before my time.
It was a shithouse move, Chris. Let's you and I bring live then, because Joe's going to struggle. So we basically... Tommy Mooney has a 20-goal season, idolised by the Swindon supporters. We're all clamouring for him to re-sign for a second season. We knew he was out of contract. It was always a chance we were going to lose him. But I don't think, Chris, any of us expected a cult hero like Tommy Mooney to go to bloody Oxford United.
Oh, no, it's... one thing, if you played for Swindon, you shouldn't go to Oxford anyway, but not directly.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
just to put this into perspective, Paolo Di Canio sent Eric Saban to Oxford to kind of to send a very, very, very loud message to him.
No, it was Mehdi Carouche, wasn't it?
They both had no. Saban.
Di Canio would have been Mehdi Carouche.
Carouche, of course, but Eric Saban was also sent the same way by Andy King. But was it Andy King that sent him? But both of those lads ended up being sent to Oxford United for very, very specific reasons. Tommy actually chose to go there, willingly go there. And yeah, I mean, listen, I think the thing that really irks me, well, there's a couple of things. I'll tell you a couple of stories about it. Obviously, I've already framed the kind of like the main bulk of the story. Tommy kind of knew that was a dodgy thing to do. But I don't think he quite realised just how bad it was going to be. Now, interestingly enough, I talked about attending various sort of football functions and whatnot. I can't remember the year, but it was the year after his year at Oxford. And I went up and introduced myself to him at the Grosvenor House Hotel in London. And I said, Tommy, nice to meet you. I'm a Swindon Town fan. And he literally just looked at me, put both his hands on my shoulders and went, I'm really sorry. And he actually really meant it as well.
I was going to say, I've heard Tommy Mooney apologised. I can't remember who it was with. I think it might have been Sam Parkin on a podcast somewhere. But Tommy Mooney literally said, actually, no, I think it was with the Low Strangers. He said that he regretted it big time. As soon as he signed the papers, he knew it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but he felt he'd been treated terribly by us, didn't he? So he's in our shithouse villains hall of shame, but it's highly debatable, Joe, for the reasons that he's held his hands up and said should never have done it.
Yeah, you don't see John O'Beaker coming out with those sentiments, do you?
No, you definitely don't.
We've got a comment here from SM1 Insider. So he said, honourable mention to Rossi Branco for his hat-trick of assaults on a certain ex-Swindon centre-half, who himself could be considered a shithouse for that post-match interview. Now, I think this might be my mate Aidan Flint. He's shouted out. And, yeah, I mean, the less said of Aidan Flint, the better, because I'll get us cancelled if I carried on.
Well, Leah, listen, I mean, Aidan Flynn, the sad thing about that, there's an element of the Tommy Moonies in this, because obviously we'll all remember Flinty giving us that amazing few minutes at Griffin Park where we lived to at least fight our way through extra time and take them to penalties when, of course, Miles' Story fluffed his lines, unfortunately, sadly for Miles, right, tragic end to a glorious afternoon's early evening's entertainment at Griffin Park. But I mean, obviously, Aidan Flynn wins League Two under Paolo Di Canio, has a stellar season the following year. Yeah, he has had the most tremendous football career, but ultimately found his way to Bristol City. I think in reaction to getting a bit of a hard time from the Swindon fans, his first return to the ground, decided, well, okay, I'm going to respond by just massively shithousing you lot moving forward. And boy, did he take his opportunity, Joe.
I've said it before. I don't like him. I'm not a fan. Mate, the disrespect that he showed live on TV as well. Like, it wasn't even on like Bristol City's YouTube channel on an interview before a game against Swindon. I just think, we've brought you into the Football League. He was a fan's favourite, let's face it, when he was at the county ground. He was a very, very, very good player for us. He was a great centre-half. Came up with a lot of important goals as well. And
brilliant celebration show as well. We will always enjoy the celebration where he
in the snow
pinched the steward's chair and sat there cross-legged.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the one in the snow with I think it was James Collins scored a penalty, or Adam Rooney, and he just dives headfirst into the big bundle of snow and the town end. But we're talking about nice things here. None of that. No happy memories of Aidan Flynn. You can get in the bin.
Yeah, Aidan Flynn. Unfortunately, Aidan, well and truly in the bin. So thank you, SM1 Insider. Now, the next individual in our shithouse villains hall of shame is a recent departure-ish from the county ground, and that is, of course, a certain Ben Garner. Now, who was to talk through Ben Garner? Because, I mean, for me, he ends up in there because the sudden nature of his departure then led to a whirlwind of change, which pretty much turned the current squad on its head, led to a significant summer of discontent, and ultimately, to rub then salt in the wounds, he takes several very highly rated members of our squad with him, a couple of members of the coaching staff, and hasn't even said, cheerio, thank you for my time at the county ground. Now, I can't help but think myself that's in reaction to the fact that the fans never really took to him. What are your thoughts on Ben Garner, guys?
And he did it when we were live on air.
He did, didn't he? Do you remember that, Chris? What a night that was.
I can see why he'd done it, because look, more money. Yeah, exactly. As a personal point for him, I can see why he's done it. But what I don't agree with is the manner in which he's done it in, which is to basically allegedly have negotiations in between the playoff games. So, you know, while there's still important games to be played, and leaving and not even saying anything to the fans, and also signing a load of our players when he goes to Charlton, and you know, Payne, one of our better players, he's not even a regular starter for him. You know, Egbo, top player. You should, to be fair, he shouldn't even be playing for us. At that level, he was that good, and obviously Woolacott. But yeah, I just think the nature in which he done it in could have been a lot better, but I can see why he done it.
The biggest thing is, Ellis, like, would any Swindon fan begrudge a manager who didn't get us promoted and move to a division above to Charlton Athletic, who are, whether we like it or not, a bigger club than us? It's just a case of, you know, he clearly was going for interviews during the playoff season, and he was going for interviews during the preparation for Port Vale. It's like, come on now, mate. Like, just a little bit of just apathy and, you know, a bit of concentration, if you like. That's all we ask for.
It doesn't take much just to put out a quick message like on Twitter. It doesn't even have to be a video. Literally just a written message. Say thank you to the fans, thank you to the club. It doesn't take much at all. But he went, said nothing, and took
here's
took
the big
a load of our players.
Here's the big difference in class between some of the people we're talking about. So if you'll rewind back to a very controversial departure of a certain Richie Wellens, who obviously now Richie won us a title, fantastic, and made an encouraging start to the following season where he pretty much had one hand tied behind his back. Richie went to such lengths to actually, after his departure, rightly or wrongly, and I know he regrets it because I've spoken to him since, and he says he probably shouldn't have done it, but he felt so strongly that he needed to say goodbye the right way that he came on and spent an hour talking with Vic and explaining why he was disappearing to the fans. Now, again, you take all those comments with a pinch of salt and all the rest of it, but there is the difference in respect, isn't it, between the two types of manager, that one felt he needed to say goodbye.
And yeah, also when Richie Wellens was leaving, he got all the backroom staff together to say thank you, to say goodbye. Pengana didn't do that. He just buggered off.
On that as well, Richie's played charity games on a county ground pitch as well since he's left. He's come back, and him and Noel Hunt have played in the Low Strangers Charity Shield or whatever the tournament that they played.
Yeah,
he's and the difference is, obviously, we've said about Garner not saying goodbye and Richie saying goodbye in a very personable and poignant way, if you like. Because let's face it, we know the reason why he left. It was because of the ownership at the time, and that's the way it was, and that's the way it is. We move on from it. That's fine. But how many? If you did a poll of 100 Swindon fans, ask them two questions: would you want Richie Wellens back, and would you want Ben Garner back? Oh, come on now! Like, it's going to be a landslide. And also, I can see Richie Wellens coming back in the future. I can see it.
Listen, I mean, I'll have this argument with Orient fans all day long. Indeed, I've had this argument with Orient fans within the last 12 months, but we're a bigger club by far than Leyton Orient. And I think with a fair wind, I mean, the thing is, Richie's clearly building a very, very exciting project. He's backed, he's got them playing, he's got them going great guns. I don't envisage he would, be leaving them anytime soon, given the circumstances of both clubs. But I am with you. I think with Richie, much like I get a similar vibe to what we were saying, talking about Charlie Austin, the way things ended with Cat. I think with Richie, it's unfinished business. And yeah, I can see that at some point. But look, we'll part Ben Garner by saying you do look a little bit like a tortoise, and and yeah, we don't want to spend any more air on you. Honourable mention for Gabby Ogunlahore, Chris was quite keen for Gabby O'Bonlahor to get a mention because of the way he shithoused us when we had Villa in the cup and we were undone by Benteke. Despite the heroics of a certain Miles story mentioned before at the Brentford game, but the player that we probably wanted to spend a little bit of time with, just to wrap up the shithouse villains gallery, is of course a certain Alex Ravel. Now, Alex Ravel's a fascinating character. Got all of the physical attributes and all of the performance attributes to be an enormous player for Swindon Town at this level, but couldn't hit a bull's arse with a banjo when he played for Swindon Town, but just had the most uncanny knack of scoring, and not only scoring lots of goals, but critical goals past Swindon Town as well. I can't even bring myself to talk about Alex Ravel. Who wants to talk about him?
I'll have this one. I mean, the season that he played for us, I think, was kind of my first real season of watching Town sort of game by game. And he came in the summer and it was a case of, right, we've got Billy Painter, he's starting. Who's he starting with? And it's like, right, we got Frank Noble. Well, he's quite young and he's not really all there. And, he's playing for West Ham and he's done all right in the 10 minutes it was on in a Carling Cup game. But he just didn't look like he was ready for League One football. Okay, right. Alex Ravel, he's done all right with us before. Was he with us before on a loan deal?
No,
loan deals?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No.
But even so, he's a youngish sort of player that's played League Two, League One football. And as you say, I think it was all there. Like, he had chances and he got himself into good positions and he played off of Billy quite well. And it was just a case of it wasn't falling to him and he wasn't finishing it in the right ways. I think he's one of those players that he ebbs and flows. He has a confident season like he did at Rotherham when they got promoted in the playoffs, and he scored a screamer. And it was like, okay, he scored like 20 goals that season or something. And it's like, next season he might score 5. He's one of those players that he runs off confidence. And I think as soon as you get someone like a Charlie Austin in, it's game over. I think Charlie Austin, he came in and he sort of hits the ground running. He scores game by game. He links up well with Billy. He's got a good relationship with Danny Ward down the side as well. It was just once Charlie Austin cemented his place in the side, it wasn't ever going to happen for him. And I think obviously Alex Ravel, he has scored a few goals against us. I remember the game at home to Rotherham when he scored twice, and we come back. Alan Connell scored, didn't he, to win 3-2. But to me, there are much worse shithouses around than Alex Ravel. I think, to be fair to him, he never really had a shot at Swindon. He was kind of a stopgap while we waited for someone probably a little bit better in that position.
Yeah, I'll make you right. I think it's mainly because Ravel, he didn't really boil our piss, did he, with any of the celebrations for any of his many, 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 many goals against us. But it was just that fact that he could not hit a bull's ass with a banjo. It was infuriating in the red of Swindon Town. And then when he goes elsewhere, he becomes a lower league Gary Lineker. Literally, for Swindon Town, he made Andy Williams look like Gary Lineker. But yeah, when he decides to go and deploy himself elsewhere, it was just absolutely deadly. But look, that is your Shithouse Villains Hall of Fame, as suggested by the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. We're more than happy for any of these debates to continue. It's by no means an exhaustive list, and we thank you. We thank you for the various contributions.
Going back
build up to the show,
well, though, Hannah's Boston United. It was with
there
Evans.
you go. Thank you, Chris. Boston United for Steve Evans. I'm pleased you pointed that out. But listen, here's a question for you. Just while we're on the process of just wrapping up our shithousing content for the night, shithousing on social media. Now we talked to Coxie and we talked to Charlie Austin about this earlier. What do you think? Do you believe there's a difference between trolling and shithousing, guys? Silence.
Well, I think really trolling is shithousing, sort of, really, isn't it? Because you're doing the same thing. You're just trying to wind someone up.
Yeah. Okay, so for example, me personally, I think I personally think there is a big difference. One of the reasons why I'm asking the question, because I think the big difference between trolling and shithousing, as I see it, really is all around anonymity, cruelty, and cowardice. And I think shithousing is a little bit like, I don't know, I can.
Friendly banter.
Yeah, there's a sort of. Do you remember? Okay, so right at the very start of this show, I said the urban dictionary definition, which I appreciate hasn't been written by Oxford scholars, but it said, where are we? A method in which a person or collective overcome a challenge in a cheeky or slightly unethical manner. I think that pretty much applies to Crew at the weekend, as extreme as their wind-ups were being. But it was cheeky, it was unethical, but I don't think it was cruel. It wasn't necessarily doing any damage. I think there is I think trolling, there's a certain insidious element about trolling, which I find particularly distasteful. And one of the things one of the distinctions I mentioned, the first word was anonymity. I don't have a lot of time for people that are just willing to just constantly put the boot in, whether that be on us at our show or whether that be footballers online. So, for example, you take like racist abuse and things like this, when it's people hiding behind a pseudonym and taking no responsibility at all for their content, I just find it's absolutely appalling. Yeah, for me, I think that's an interesting link, or an interesting conversation to be had. I think, like I said, cruel. We talked about cruel. I think it's more unethical and cheeky, yeah, just an interesting one nonetheless to throw out there. But
I think the way you've got to look at sort of shithousing in a football term is if you're in an office, if you work in an office, and your mate goes to make a cup of tea, and you sort of, you know, that trick where you sit in your mate's chair, you bring it down, and you put it under the desk, and you pull the lever, and lock it underneath the desk. It's like it's workplace banter, but it's kind of to piss people off. In terms of in a football sense, if you know what I'm getting at,
yeah,
it's like you're taking the piss at work, you're trying to make light of things, and it is annoying. Of course, it's annoying if you're losing 1-0 with 5 minutes to go, and a player's pissing around, and it's clearly he's just taking the mick. You're going to get wound up. But at the end of the day, they're kind of entertainers. And we've had Fraser Blake Tracy on the show saying that he was taking the piss out of Grimsby fans this season when he was, you know, pretending to pick the ball up for throw-ins in the last 5 minutes of injury time, missing the ball, got to pick up again, slipping, missing the ball, and then winking at the Grimsby fans who were giving him dogs abuse. And he was like, I feel like an entertainer on the pitch. He's like, they've paid their money to come and watch a game. If I can piss them off, I'm getting a reaction and they're being entertained, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah, 100%. I think going back to the point about Fraser Blake Tracy winding up fans, like trolling fans and whatnot, he's there, isn't he? He's accountable. He's taking responsibility for his own actions because he's there. It's just so you know. So yeah, no, I take your point, Joe. Listen, it's not one for us to you know to labour. But I do think there is a distinction. But I do think some of the online and social. I mean, listen, I cut my teeth and developed a very successful media career in traditional media channels, and watched as social media came up on the rails at a rate of knots. And one of the early sort of watch outs that we were having when we were talking to a lot of brands that we were working with at the time was, this has got this has got enormous potential, but one of the biggest problems that you've got here is that everyone is suddenly going to become an editor of their own content. They're going to become not only a creator, but they're going to become a curator. And actually, this gives people the enormous opportunity to create a lot of content that hasn't necessarily been sense checked, take no responsibility for it because they can hide behind pseudonyms and just punt it out there into the. Now, listen, guess what? Unfortunately, someone's opened the Pandora's box, and it is what it is. And the face of media and the landscape of media has changed immeasurably. But I do take enormous exception to people that dish it out, but sit behind pseudonyms. Now, listen, best bit about what we do with this show is we do our absolute damnedest not to block people on our show. But I'm going to be totally frank. If you're going to dish it out and you're not going to offer any value and you're just going to stick poison in what we're trying to achieve with our show and not take any responsibility, you're going to find yourself being blocked. If you've got any issues with that, you know where we're sat every Saturday. Come over and introduce yourself. You'll find me in the Legends Lounge. Be more than happy to have those conversations with you. You know, you are more than welcome. We take full responsibility for our content. And I've got no problems having conversations with anybody that doesn't want to take responsibility with their content. And guess what? If you don't like our content in the first place, just hit the block button and do us all a favour and just disappear. Anyway, listen, we'll move on swiftly because we're right at the tail end of the show now. We've got a little bit of any other business. So obviously, we've already talked about the women's match on Sunday. Just a little reminder: Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge is going to be present on Sunday at the County Ground from 11 o'clock, where we are going to be broadcasting pre-match analysis, full match commentary, and post-match analysis live from the County Ground. We are going to have a presence in the commentary box, quite a large one, as well as being pitch side as well, with fans and players and management alike. So we very much look forward to seeing you. Come and say hello, introduce yourselves to us. It would be lovely to see you all. Wanted to give you an update from Paul Caddis. Unfortunately, Paul can't be with us. Sadly, family matters have kept Paul from us this evening. Paul was over the moon. We set our targets on Saturday to smash his stage 1 target for his fundraising efforts for type 1 diabetes research. Paul had a very modest target, as we discussed in the Legends Lounge on Saturday, of £5,000. Delighted to state Paul has absolutely smashed that. Paul's sitting just shy of £6,000 and he's in the process of amending his target. I believe we're going to double it to 10k. Paul is going to be doing, and we'll be doing it with Paul, the Three Peaks Challenge in February. We very much look forward, and that's an open invite if anyone wants to take part in 1, 2, or 3 of the peaks along with Paul. The opportunity to say you've climbed the mountain with 2-time league-winning captain Paul Caddis is a story to tell the grandkids for sure. So, if you're
to say you've climbed the mountain with Alice Holloway as well.
Yeah, and well, Ellis. I mean, obviously, Ellis has already done the Three Peaks Challenge for the last couple of months, and Ellis is going to be doing it again with Paul Ellis, aren't you?
Yeah, probably going to regret doing it again, but yeah, it's it's an opportunity not to turn down. It's such a good experience, so no, I am looking forward to it. I mean, I done it in the summer, so it was nice weather, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult this time.
Going to be icy in February, Ellis, but we'll get it done.
We will indeed.
So please, if anyone's interested, if you haven't already donated, please donate whatever you can afford to Paul Caddis. If you go to his Twitter feed, you'll find a link in Paul's bio to his GoFundMe page. As I say, at the moment, Paul's sitting just under £6,000, raised a significant sum of cash for him. I believe off the back of Saturday, put about another £1,500 into his funds. And we've got some really, really exciting plans coming up as well. We've got a big week of planning next week. And if all goes to plan, before Christmas, we are going to be making an announcement on a big event that is going to take place at the County Ground that is going to warm every single cockle of every single Swindon Town fan out there. So watch this space. Paul's influence around the fan base is, and indeed the player base at Swindon Town is significant. That is the only Easter egg I am willing to hint with you at this stage. A lovely little update just prior to coming on air. I don't know if you saw it all, ladies and gentlemen, but Sir Tom Broadbent has got himself some extra employment. Sir Tom has got himself a new role as a financial advisor with Game Plan Financial. And Tom says he is joining up with fellow athletes, both currently active and fully transitioned out of competition. So get in touch for mortgage renewals, buying a first home, insurances, and wealth management. Listen, all joviality aside, Tom, wish you all the best, pal, as you marry up working in the financial sector with your duties for South Shields and getting them further up the non-league pyramid. We wish you all the very, very, very best. Now, listen, we've kind of spent a lot of time talking about shithousing, lads, and I know you all wanted to get into the 2012 versus 2020 squads debate, but in the interest of time, I'm going to draw a halt to proceedings tonight. Cads wants to come back on at some point in the very near future, and I think that's a debate that we will put nicely on the shelf for when Paul is back, because we've been working with Paul a little bit this week and him seeding that out there amongst the fan base. I think it's only right and proper that we get Paul involved in that. And I think he was hoping to do that tonight, but obviously things have kept him from us. But listen, what a show it's been. I mean, my sincerest thanks to guests: captain of Swindon Town women's team, Alice Bowden, Steph Bent, goal scorer supreme, Annie Colston, and goal provider supreme, Helena Diaz-Butcher, for their time. Charlie Austin, as always, an absolute treat to hear from Charlie down in Brisbane. Fantastic to be joined again from Simon Cox and Vic Morgan, who came on to lift the lid on our curious shithousing rivalry with Kentish bogeymen Gillingham. Unbelievable show, loads and loads of content. I don't like to finish on a somber, but I just
before we sign off, Hannah. Sorry, before we end off on obviously what we're going to end on, just a quick comment from Rachel, who's currently listening to, saying, wishing you all a brilliant Thanksgiving tomorrow, and fingers crossed for a 3 Lions win. So, Rachel, thank you very much for listening in tonight, and we wish you back a fantastic Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Thank you, Rachel. That's very kind.
Oh, also giveaway.
Go on.
What's the date of the game? Joe?
Are we talking about draw to win?
Yeah.
Sorry, draw to win. Obviously, we've got, I think it's the last week of entries, so any entries for draw to win, draw in your favourite Swindon Town person, whether that's a player, a staff member, your favourite fan, get them into us, because the draw will be made on the 1st of December, and the winning entry will be presented with a mascot package for the home game against AFC Wimbledon on the 10th of December.
Get to walk out with Mr. Deverson.
Yeah, get drawing, guys, for the big return of Big Dave. I'm sure it'd be a cracking game against Wimbledon. It'd be great to see Josh back at the county ground. Hopefully he behaves himself and keeps himself well away from bothering Seoul. But get drawing your favourite player, your favourite member of staff, whoever it possibly will be. Get your nippers to scribble it down. My kid has already been a mascot this year. Had the most incredible day. The football club really do look after you. It is an experience to not be missed. And the fact that you get an opportunity off the back of that drawing to get that wonderful opportunity for free, it is an absolute life changer for your young person. So please take full advantage of that. But listen, as I said right at the very, very, very start of the show, tonight's show is dedicated to the memory of former Swindon Town women's goalkeeper Carla Heaton, who at the tender age of 22 has passed away this week. We send Carla's family all our very, very best wishes and our sincerest thanks for Carla's time at our football club. I simply don't have the words when someone so young, unfortunately, departs this good earth that we're all inhabiting. All I've heard about Carla as a fellow goalkeeper is that she very much fitted the mould. That everyone says that goalkeepers need to be a little bit different, shall we say that? And one look at some of the profile pictures that have been posted about Carla and read some of the stories about her character. A big character, and I'm sure she leaves a big hole in a lot of lives. And for those people, we just send you all of our sincerest condolences and very, very best wishes. The Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge is an independent Swindon Town Twitter space. The views do not represent those of Swindon Town Football Club or Sir Tom Broadbent himself. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you for just over the last 2.5 hours. My thanks to Chris, my thanks to Ellis, my thanks to Joe, and all of our guests, and indeed you, dear listeners. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you will all tune in again on Sunday from 11 o'clock in the morning for more Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge nonsense and assorted Swindon Town tomfoolery. As I say, pre-match analysis, full match commentary, post-match analysis, live from the county ground of Swindon Town women versus Plymouth Argyle women. But for now, we bid you a fair good night.